wish. Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle has resigned. House Democrat Pete Aguilar of California.
Members on both sides of the aisle called for her resignation, and I think that was the right decision.
Cheadle resigns 10 days after the Secret Service allowed a sniper to get within firing range of a Trump rally in Pennsylvania, wounding the former president and killing a spectator. More on the decision from Aisha Hosni.
Fox has obtained a letter, which appears to be a letter written by Cheadle to her staffers. And in that, she says this: as I stated in the hearing yesterday, all of you are worthy of trust and confidence. You deserve the nation's support in carrying out our critical mission. Now, former President Trump, who met with Cheadle at the RNC last week, is out with a statement himself. Some thoughts here from him. He says, she never gave me proper protection, so I ended up having to take a bullet for democracy. Many requests were made by on-site Secret Service for more people, always with a turn down or no response. I have the biggest crowds in history, and they should be treated accordingly. Big improvements have been made over the last week.
Meanwhile, the House continues its hearing into what went wrong. Vice President Kamala Harris is on the campaign trail today, holding her first rally. Since President Biden dropped out of the race, she will be in a key swing state.
What does a rally look like for Kamala Harris? She's ready to be here in Wisconsin, the VP says, because it's a very important state taking the lead on this campaign. So the race is on, right, with just more than 100 days until the election.
Fox's Alexis McAdams. Harris will be campaigning tomorrow and missed the congressional address by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. America is listening to Fox News.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go: shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms: irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Not a lot of push, not a lot of change in our weather the next several days. Partly sunny skies this afternoon. Maybe a spot or an isolated afternoon storm. 87 for the high. It's not too bad. Tonight, partly cloudy, 80s this evening, 69 for the low. Wednesday, partly sunny, a spot afternoon storm, 90 on Wednesday. Hottest of the week. Same story on Thursday, except the high Thursday, 87. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
AirComfortService.com. That's where you can go to learn about the services that are provided by Air Comfort Service. I want to remind you right now that if your air conditioner hasn't been serviced yet, you want to make sure that it's going to run efficiently. You can go to Air Comfort Service and get on a maintenance plan. If you reach out to them, you can ask them how your HVAC system can be maintained for as little as $19 a month. That gives you the peace of mind for when the extreme heat and humidity rises, that you are not going to have to worry about that comfort zone getting snatched up by the summer heat. If your AC starts making a loud noise, if you notice ice on your refrigerant lines, or if your husband does, I'm just to be honest, I have no idea where the refrigerant lines are, but somebody does. And if you have that maintenance plan, you don't have to understand all of that because they come out and they check it monthly for you for a very, very low price, which is going to save you those high cost repairs or potentially replacements. Reach out to Air Comfort Service and set up your maintenance plan today. 314-513-0091. 314-513-0091. AirComfortService.com.
If you have a problem with the IRS, believe me, it's not going away on its own. The IRS never gives up. They have endless resources so they control the game. Well, your tax problems can end. I'm attorney Lance Drury with the Drury Law Firm, a local tax resolution firm with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. I've handled thousands of IRS cases over the last 15 years. So when you hire me, you won't be speaking long distance or sending money to some TV pitchman that's riddled with consumer complaints. Your first visit is completely free and confidential, and I'll tell you on the spot exactly how much it will cost. So call me, Lance Drury, at 314-260-6120. That's 314-260-6120. Or go to Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com. If you have IRS issues, you need a local attorney, you need me, Lance Drury.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Experience the beauty of custom-crafted windows that enhance your home's aesthetics and energy efficiency. Look no further than Infinity from Marvin, proudly brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. Why choose Infinity? These windows are not just strong, they're 8 times stronger than vinyl, providing unmatched security for your home. Plus, with Lakeside's expert installation, you're guaranteed precision and perfection. Visit our showroom or call Lakeside Renovation and Design today. Elevate your home with Infinity from Marvin, where strength meets style.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
Celebrate National Carpet Cleaning Month with Zero Res and get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $129 and the 4th room free. And take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Call now, 314-474-2020, or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Welcome to the Annie Fry Show. Brad Young sitting in today with you until 3 o'clock. So thanks for hanging out with us today on the Annie Fry Show. Mr. Wiggins, good to see you, sir.
You too. Good to be back with you.
And Brad Range, back from vacation.
Fresh back and tanned.
Yeah? Well,
not really. I used a lot of sunscreen.
Well, I was on vacation the prior week, and I didn't use any sunscreen, which... with a head like mine, I'm follically challenged. I do admit that.
That's brave.
It is brave. But, I thought, I'm going to just see what happens. Didn't get burned at all. So I was thrilled.
Fantastic.
Got well tanned, but not burned. And unlike the time I rode on the Katy Trail without a hat in August, then it was, fry an egg on Brad's forehead time. But, had a great time. Everything's great. But listen, speaking of great, we've got a great poll right now on our live chat, don't we, Ryan?
It's the most important news of the day. We're trying to stick to this in the polls lately. I think we've been doing a pretty good job. How does Kamala Harris's candidacy change the Democrats' chances of winning in 2024? You have 2 options: better now or worse now. And we really have no idea how this is going to shake out. We were talking about this ahead of time, and nobody knows. So please let us know what you think.
Well, it sounds kind of like the marriage ceremony, for better or worse.
It is for better or worse.
It's kind of what it is at this point.
It's for better or worse, exactly. But speaking of better or worse, with the emphasis on worse, we do have breaking news. If you haven't already heard, the head of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle, she did resign about an hour ago, resigned her position as the director of the U.S. Secret Service. And I wanted to throw this out. We may get into this a little bit later as the show unfolds, but since this is breaking news, I wanted to check with the Brain Trust here and see, number one, was this inevitable? Number 2, was it necessary? And number 3, do you think it will result in any substantive change in how the Secret Service operates?
Well, I do. I mean, there's a lot of questions. So I'm just going to say I do since we're talking about marriage ceremonies. But I think that this was inevitable, especially after the questioning yesterday, because it was bipartisan. The minute you saw that happen, you knew this is a done deal.
Right.
She's
when
done.
when Jeremy Raskin came out and said she needs to resign. At that point, it was truly inevitable.
Yeah, because she may have been waiting to see if she was going to have some political cover, and that didn't happen, and so, boom, she resigned. Whether this is going to be any change, here's the deal. If we're talking about systemic problems within the government, then no. I don't think this changes anything. But I do think that, you know how when a company goes through a very public crisis, like Chipotle or one of these companies that has had some sort of public image issue.
But by the way, hang on a second. The only crisis I have is after I eat Chipotle. But
that's you personally.
That's a different story, but go ahead.
Yeah, over the years, they've just been one of those companies that's had people come out against them and stuff. But lots of companies have had this. They usually have a moment where they have a really bad PR week, and then they have to kind of get things back on track. It's the get back on track weeks afterwards that they are, it's especially if it's a restaurant, you're going to get the best food you've ever had. So I think that's what's going to happen here with the Secret Service. And timing-wise, that's okay, because I think between now and the election, you're going to see top-notch Secret Service at every event for every candidate, and that's what we need. We need that all the time, but as far as between now and then, I think you're going to see nothing crazy happen.
One of the things that's wild to me, and to Ryan's point, will this change anything? It will change depending on who becomes the new director. Was this inevitable? It was inevitable. I think it was because, if my memory serves me, I don't remember exactly who the representative was that was talking about that, but they mentioned when Reagan was shot, the director of the United States Secret Service resigned at that point.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday.
But will it change? It's inevitable. It will. Will it change? It depends on who they put in there. If they put another Cheadle in there, then no, nothing's going to change. You got to have somebody that's really focused on what the role of the Secret Service is. But the thing that surprised me is it took this shot at Trump to get RFK Secret Service protection. It's like once they did, now they're like, oh, yeah, we kind of got to take this seriously.
Right.
Like people aren't out there trying to kill presidential candidates.
Sure. All the time. But Ryan, last week when I was in on Friday, we talked at length about how it was inevitable that Biden was going to bow out of the race. And there was that feeling of inevitability because of the pressure.
Yeah.
And I think yesterday we felt that same degree and level of pressure on Cheadle that we saw on President Biden on Friday.
Well, I get what you're saying as far as the inevitability of it. I don't think that the pressure, George Clooney didn't write anything about Cheadle. So that's a different level of pressure.
This was a little more organic.
This was more political. The pressure on Biden was coming from donors. It was coming from, mega Democrats high up in the echelons. We were talking about Hollywood turning on him. Everybody turned on Biden. So that's why he ultimately dropped out, is because there was no path for him to win going forward, not only the presidency, but win the popular opinion of anybody if he lost.
But going back to the assassination attempt, though, there's a couple of things that I think we have to have answered through any investigation between now and really before the election. We need to at least have a handle on three issues. And the first was who had the responsibility to secure the building? I mean, we know that the Secret Service had identified that building as a threat. They identified it as a threat. But then because of manpower issues, because it was outside of the perimeter fence, then it was up to local police. But where did the breakdown occur? If the Secret Service said this building is a threat source, and then that threat source wasn't adequately communicated to the police, that's ultimately the responsibility of the Secret Service, because they didn't communicate enough. I mean, like, for example, if my paralegal screws something up at my law firm, it's ultimately my responsibility. Even though he or she may do the problem, it was my fault. It was my oversight recommendation. It was my oversight responsibility. I should have made sure that it was done. So it's still on them. And we don't really have an answer to that yet. I think the second question that has to be answered is why was President Trump allowed to take the stage? They had already identified the potential threat on a building. The shooter, Mr. Crooks, had already been identified as a potential threat. They could have held up the rally for 5 or 10 minutes just to see how things progressed. Why was he even allowed to take the stage? That was responsibility of Secret Service. They could have easily said, listen, Mr. President, you can't take the stage right now. We're just going to do a security clearance very quick. she'll only take 5 minutes and then we'll let you get going. That never happened. That was up to them. And then thirdly, I think the question that has to be answered is did in fact, it was confirmed over the weekend that the Secret Service had denied a request for more security by the Trump campaign staff. Why was that denied? Was it denied just because, well, we have to give equal to you and anyone else? Or was it just because you're not the official nominee? What was the basis? What was the policy decision to reject a request for additional security? And that's the policy decision that needs to be modified moving forward.
And that's not a conspiracy theory either. That is official from Trump and the campaign saying,
yes,
we tried to get better security. We tried to get more Secret Service, and we were denied. They said 4 times.
Right.
And
Secret Service has admitted it. So again, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's fact, and it's confirmed fact.
So the thing that you kind of extrapolate from that would be that they got the D team, that they didn't get the high-level Secret Service. And is there a conspiracy in that? Was that on purpose, or was this just, it's the same conversation we've been having since Biden took office. Are these things being done on purpose, whether you talk about the border or the economy or anything else?
Right.
Is any of this being done on purpose, or are they just that incompetent? And we have not solved that debate yet.
No, we haven't. But I will tell you, generally, by the way, I love conspiracy theories, and I can spin some good ones. However, I rarely believe them because the easiest answer to most of these is human error and bureaucratic incompetence. I mean, when you put those two things together, that really, to me, explains a lot. So I don't know that it's a conspiracy, although it's interesting to discuss. More likely than not, it's just nobody cared. It's a government agency. It's a bureaucratic snafu, and nobody really cared.
And as far as conspiracy theories go, that would actually be one of the easiest ones. For the DOJ or for the FBI to say, yeah, you know what? We're just not going to give them our best agents. That is not a tough thing to do for them.
Right.
So I could very much see that happening.
Yeah, that could easily happen. And I hope that through this investigation, we get to the bottom of it. Now, I haven't seen, since the news is breaking, literally as we speak, I haven't seen any news. Maybe there is no indication as to whom the replacement would be. I think that Biden's probably going to take some time to pick somebody because, basically, he's got a lot of time on his hands right now, right? All of a sudden, his calendar is like, hey, my calendar's all cleared up now for the next 6 months. But so he's got time to really pick somebody. I hope that he does, and I hope that he picks somebody without having to stay in his basement to do so.
Well, he's staying in his basement for now.
Yeah.
They have a press conference or some appearance scheduled for tomorrow is the latest that we've heard.
Right.
So we'll see. We're all waiting to see the president again.
Yeah.
After a few newsworthy items have happened.
We've been waiting to see the president, particularly at a press conference, for the past 2 years.
Yeah, right.
I mean, until he recently appeared at a press conference, it had been 2 years, 2022. And, we talk about how the mainstream media is in the tank for the left. We know that. That's nothing new. But isn't it interesting that I consume an enormous amount of news, and I have never once seen any mainstream news agency say, why does the president avoid press conferences? You remember when Trump was president, he would do a press conference anytime, anywhere. Let's talk. Let's go. I'll take your questions. Yeah. I'm not afraid of him. But Biden was withheld from that. He was stuck in the basement, just like he did when he ran for president. And they were shielding him from access to the press. And I fault the press. I don't fault the Biden administration for shielding him because they knew it was a problem. But the press should have been out there saying, why aren't you producing the president? And yes, I'm pounding on the table for a reason. It's not like I don't realize we're on radio. I'm doing it for emphasis, okay? But that's something that the media should have been out there saying, why is he not appearing for a press conference? And that was never done. So that to me is journalistic malpractice.
We've been talking about the failures of the left-wing media, the legacy media, whatever we call them, for a long time. This is maybe the biggest one we've ever seen publicly. Now, there are probably a lot that you could link to them. Mm-hmm. But this one, clearly, like you just said, they ran cover for this guy for the entirety of his presidency. They will continue to. And it almost cost them the next one. That's the only reason they gave up on it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And I still find it so interesting when all of these pundits are saying, oh, my goodness, we didn't realize he was so bad until the debate. Really? What? I mean, do you go to Stevie Wonder's eye doctor? I mean, how could you not see that this guy's been having problems for 2 years?
Yeah, it's like getting on whatever panel on CNN, MSNBC, and saying, "I just want you guys to know that I have done zero research on anything. So don't trust anything I say from here on out. I'm shocked at the level of dementia that the president has. Never seen this before.
Never seen it before, ever. Now, nothing to see here. Hey, speaking of lots to see, though, we've got lots more to cover here on the Annie Fry Show. We're going to take a quick break here because, listen, Brad Range and Ryan Wiggins, they cost this station enormous sums of money, folks. There was something posted on the live chat about the producers for the Annie Fry Show are just out of this world, but they're also out of our pockets because it's very expensive. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to cover what's next. I mean, if the president isn't capable of running for re-election, is he even capable to manage the country and to be the president of the United States? Next, here on the Annie Fry Show, Brad Young sitting in 97.1 FM Talk.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show on St. Louis's home for conservative talk. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Jen Teskey with RE/MAX Alliance has long been known for 15 plus years as the person who understands the Illinois market. She knows how to buy and sell. She knows how to list. She knows how to be honest with you. And she has trained the staff that she has around her to be just as good at it as she is. When you call her at 618-541-1010, 618-541-1010, Jen Teskey is going to partner you with the information you need, the team that you need to make sure that if you're listing your home, it's listed to sell and sell fast. She's going to be honest with you. The team is going to position your home in the best possible way to get top dollar in a timely manner. Jen Teskey Homes is easy to reach at 618-541-1010. You can call or text Jen Teskey at 618-541-1010. And you can learn all about her team, her staff, her listings, and her process by visiting them online. Just go to jenteskeyhomes.com. That's jenteskeyhomes.com.
A weak White House, an invasion of illegals, and the woke mob attacking our values. That's what Phil Cristofanelli is fighting for Missouri's future. He supported sending the National Guard to secure the southern border. He defunded sanctuary cities. And Phil Cristofanelli backs the blue to keep our neighborhoods safe from gangs, fentanyl, and human traffickers. He's been named one of Missouri's most conservative legislators year after year. Cristofanelli stands up to the radical left and weak-kneed Republicans. Pro-life, he helped pass one of the nation's strongest anti-abortion laws and defunded Planned Parenthood. Pro-Second Amendment, he stood up for our gun owners and constitutional rights. And Cristofanelli is keeping men out of girls' sports and locker rooms. Phil Cristofanelli, an unwavering conservative for state senate.
Paid for by friends of Phil Cristofanelli, Dan Raker's treasurer.
Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns? The IRS won't quit until they get your money. Here's great news, fresh from those in the know. Major changes have happened at the IRS. If you owe more than $10,000, you may be eligible for a 99% reduction of what you owe. Haven't filed a return for a while? Their happy clients are talking.
The IRS was going to levy my bank account, but Guardian was able to prevent that and fix all my IRS issues. Thanks again, Guardian Tax.
Need relief from crushing tax debt? The IRS now has special programs. Guardian Tax knows all about them. Personal or business, this is the fresh new break you've been hoping for.
We aren't the company you call when you need a hug because you're scared of the IRS. Guardian Tax is the company that wins when you need it most.
Guardian Tax Service is really great to work with. They really help me out. I'd recommend them highly.
Call now for a free confidential consultation. 800-505-1608. 800-505-1608. 800-505-1608.
When you have Rhino Shield on your house, it does a couple of things for you. It beautifies the house, and it protects it from the harshest elements. And boy, do we see those here in the greater St. Louis area. You get instant curb appeal. It will stick to anything. Rhino Shield is the answer, no matter whether you're you're painting a home or a church or a business or a condo because it's 100% waterproof. It takes care of the outdoor maintenance on whatever is on the outside of your home, the brick, the block, aluminum, steel, stucco. They can put this on with the 2 to 3 coat process. They're there about a week, and they do a great job. A lot of businesses have done it in the area. Several Firestones have done that. Vantage Credit Union over the years, Harlan Packaging down in DeSoto. Call Darren today and schedule your free estimate. 877-25-RHINO, easy to remember phone number, or go online today at 877-25-RHINO.com.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. 9 out of 10 homes are under-insulated. Keep the air you're paying to heat where it should be with 15% off attic insulation. For a free estimate on attic insulation, visit aircomfortservice.com.
We're here to help you get registered to vote, whether you're in Missouri or Illinois. Democracy 2024 on 97.1 FM Talk. If you need help getting registered, go to 971talk.com/vote.
When I wake up, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. When I go out,
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. Brad Young sitting in today, and it's a darn good thing that I'm more flexible than a yoga instructor because we've had a change up. I teased one story, but during the break, we had the opportunity to reach out to Ryan Schmelz. You know Ryan. He is a Fox News Radio Capitol Hill correspondent, and he had the opportunity to join us here, so we wanted to squeeze him in. Hey, Ryan, thanks for joining us this afternoon on 97.1 FM Talk.
Heck yeah, of course.
Hey, I wanted to talk to you about some of the things in terms of Kamala Harris's record. Now, one of the things is that hasn't there been a history of Kamala Harris since she's been vice president having issues with staff, having issues with getting along with people, and having a continuum. And we're going to talk about her border czar problems here in just a moment. But just to start it out, she had a history of not even being able to get along with her staff, didn't she?
I believe so. There were some stories that surfaced around, her record when it came to, like you said, staff and all that. I haven't really delved too much in some of those reports and all that. But of course, they got resurfaced when she ran for president, I believe. And of course, I wouldn't be shocked if a Republican sees on it.
Sure. But one of the things, Ryan, that's being focused on now, though, is her efforts as the so-called border czar. It was reported yesterday that Harris failed to speak with the new Border Patrol chief after he assumed office last year. The prior chief was Chief Raul Ruiz. He said he had never heard from Biden or Harris during his entire tenure. Her work as head or the so-called border czar was slammed by the former commissioner of Customs and Border Protection that was under Presidents Obama and Trump. We have a history and a track record here of failure, don't we, for the past 3.5 years?
Well, I think that's where Republicans are going to go after Harris on. The border is ability for Democrats for the most part, and Republicans are going to seize on that. And this quote unquote border czar is probably a term that your listeners and everybody in the country are going to have to get used to hearing over the next couple of months, because Republicans are going to hit this point home as much as possible. Now, Democrats do have their talking point now. Ever since that border bill that was agreed to between a closed-door negotiation with some Republicans, Democrats, and an independent, Democrats have criticized Republicans for trying to kill that legislation, especially former President Trump, who kind of did that on social media and campaigned against it. So that's going to probably be where Democrats use as a counter argument against Republicans when it comes to this notion that Vice President Harris and President Biden are responsible for the crisis at the border.
We're talking to a Fox News Radio Capitol Hill correspondent, Ryan Schmelz. And Ryan, one of the things that has occurred to me as I've been thinking back towards the most recent Democrat presidential candidates, even if you just go back to the 90s, those who were elected, looking at Clinton, at Bill Clinton, looking at Barack Obama, looking at even Joe Biden when he ran just a few years ago, those were all very likable candidates. And yet when you look at the Democrats who lost, that being Hillary Clinton, Al Gore, even going back to the 80s with Mike Dukakis, when you look at those candidates, those were unlikable Democrat candidates that failed. Even if their policies were viewed favorably by members of the public, they just weren't likable. So when you look at Kamala Harris with that viewpoint, Ryan, where does she come down in terms of likability factor when it comes to polling data or your experience in terms of reporting news there with Fox News? Is she viewed as likable or unlikable?
Well, certainly her polling data could be better. I think that it is something that lacks, and it was something that was seen as a concern if she were to take over as the nominee. And it certainly was a talking point Republicans used. And I think some people brought it up as, well, why would they put Kamala Harris on the ticket when she is clearly polling when it comes to favorability around the same range as President Biden, which isn't very good. But I think there is this newfound energy that you're finding with Democrats when you put Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket. You know, there's just seems to be something different. You know, it was very doom and gloom, I would say, a couple weeks ago. Democrats did not want to talk to the media. They got sick and tired of these questions surrounding President Biden being surfaced over and over again by reporters. And, you know, they just really didn't want to talk about this. And there were a ton of closed-door meetings where concerns were expressed. However, you know, now that they have moved off of President Biden, Kamala Harris has pretty much seized the nomination. And I mean, it's almost a done deal that she's going to be the nominee. I do feel like there is this new sense of rejuvenation amongst Democrats that they otherwise didn't have. And I do think that they're aware that there might be some flaws there. You know, the polling certainly is a problem. You know, there's going to be questions about whether she can be the face that gets voters in Midwestern states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, some of those battleground states to vote for them. But, you know, I think there is this sense that she can bring back some of the voters that are normally in the Democrats' base that President Biden became a liability with. You know, black voters, that's one. Minority voters, young voters, women voters. President Biden was starting to have his support slip among those, for the most part, reliable groups for Democrats normally. I think they feel that Vice President Harris can at least get a lot of those numbers down in terms of the ones who are defecting for former President Trump.
Well, when you look at the Republican convention that just ended recently, there was an enormous amount of excitement. I mean, I even saw Van Jones on CNN talk about how that he had not seen this level of excitement since 2008 with President Obama. And so there was unity, there was excitement. Then, as you mentioned, you were interviewing Democrats. They didn't want to even talk because they were down in the dumps, and now there's this rejuvenated excitement. Do you see that going forward into the convention, or is there going to be an issue that literally the person at the top of the ticket was voted on for president by no one in the 14.6 million votes that were cast during the primary? Kamala Harris received none of those votes for president. Do you see that as being an inhibiting factor in terms of getting a sense of excitement from the primary?
Well, I think Republicans certainly will seize on it, though I think Democrats are going to make the argument, well, look, this is really late in the game. I mean, Lyndon Johnson he dropped out over 100 days before the Dem convention. We're only like less than a month at this point. So Democrats had to make this decision quick. I think her vice presidential candidate, or whoever she picks to be her running mate, is going to be huge in this regard, and there's already a number of names that are being floated around. But I think one thing that Democrats are also seizing on when it comes to Republicans, I think, you know, it's safe to say that Republicans had a great convention. You know, the theatrics were certainly entertaining. The unity surrounding former President Trump is probably the strongest, close to the strongest it's been since he's kind of become the face of the Republican Party. And there's just a lot of enthusiasm surrounding Republicans. But I think that Democrats, it all started when, you know, former President Trump gave his speech. And, you know, he recounted the events, and it was very riveting, I think, for a lot of people. But then he kind of got into some of the grievances. And he also got into, you know, some things that, we thought he was going to go into this speech giving a unity speech, and certainly it was a lot more divisive than I think some people expected it to be. And, some of the Democrats I was talking to were saying, well, that was the speech we needed him to give, because one pointed out they felt that it reminded people of how, quote unquote, unhinged he can be. And it also pointed out how divisive he can be. And so they think that it reminded people of why he got voted out of office the first time. That's what some of the Democrats I talked to think. And then you have President Biden step out and Vice President Harris step in. And I think you couple all those things together, Democrats feel like they're back in the game. I think they'll acknowledge that they still have a long way to go and that former President Trump might still be leading at this point. But I think they just think their chances are a lot better than it was maybe a week or two ago.
We're talking to Ryan Schmelz. He's a Fox News radio contributor. And Ryan, we're seeing, you mentioned a moment ago that we're seeing several names being thrown out there. For example, Andy Beshear from Kentucky, Roy Cooper from North Carolina. We're also seeing Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania. What are you hearing, and from folks you've talked to, do you have any way of gauging, does any one of those three in the current horse race have a lead or an advantage? Or what are you hearing about either maybe perhaps even someone outside of those three under serious discussion?
Well, you left off, I think, the big one, and this person might end up being the favorite at some point, and that is Mark Kelly from Arizona. Now, keep in mind, a lot of the reaction and a lot of people I talked to here on Capitol Hill work in Capitol Hill, so I think they have a little bit of favoritism towards somebody who's in the Senate already, who a lot of the folks here have some type of working relationship or at least see this person on a daily basis. So Mark Kelly is getting a lot of buzz, and I think there's a big reason for that. Number one, Democrats won Arizona for the first time since in a long time. Let's just put it that way. Last election cycle, Mark Kelly has won statewide office in Arizona twice, despite Arizona, from what we think was supposed to be a red state. Well, it's been pretty purple and in some cases very blue as of late. I mean, their entire, they have an independent who was a Democrat as their current senator. They have another Democrat as their senator, and they've got a governor who's a Democrat now too. So Democrats have had a lot of success in that state, and they think, you put Mark Kelly at the top of the ticket, that almost guarantees or at least gives you a good chance of winning Arizona, which is going to be key. And then, the fact that Mark Kelly is somebody who, was an American hero before he got into politics. He's an astronaut. He's got an extensive military experience. That's just something that looks really good on a presidential ticket. So I think he's getting a lot of buzz for that reason. But also, yes, I think you take somebody like Cooper, somebody like Beshear. These are guys who represent states, especially Beshear, that are considered to be red states. And these guys have had a ton of electoral success in a short period of time there. So I think that's something that makes them appealing too.
What's next in terms of the nomination process? We know that the Democratic National Convention is not until the end of August, but I've been reading and hearing talk about something called a virtual process where the candidate and the vice president will have to be chosen before August 7, because, as I understand it, August 7 is the deadline for voting registration in Ohio. So what's next for the Democrats in terms of actually nominating Kamala Harris and whomever she picks for her VP? What's next in that process?
The next process is going to be what's called a roll call vote. It's going to be a virtual roll call. They will do it likely in early August, where they will all meet virtually. They will officially commit their delegates to Kamala Harris, and she will become the nominee.
Okay, and is that right? And then with that would meet that August 7th deadline to have an actual candidate, a president and vice presidential candidate, on the ballot to meet that deadline that was imposed in Ohio. That would suffice for that.
Yeah. That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. Last question, and we're talking to Ryan Schmelz. He's a Fox News radio correspondent. And Ryan, when we come up for this for the Democrat convention, all based on everything that we talked about here today, and I know you're prognosticating to some degree, but from the perspective of the convention itself, do you see the convention being exciting and unified as the Republican convention was, given all of the changes that we've seen just here in the last few days?
Yeah, I think it will, just because it's new, it's fresh, and it's a shock of energy that they just didn't otherwise have. And I think also the idea that you could be electing the first woman president ever, that's going to be significant, and I think that's going to be something that the Democrats really try to campaign on.
Ryan, we will be listening to Fox News for all of that. Thanks for joining us this afternoon on 97.1 FM Talk. Thank you, Ryan. Hey, when we come back, we're going to have probably, if not your favorite segment of the Annie Frey Show, it's absolutely Ryan Wiggins's favorite section and segment on the Annie Frey Show, and that's Wiggins America next on the Annie Frey Show. Brad Young sitting in today. Don't go away.
When I go out, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you.
The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
If I heaver, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who's heavering to you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more to be the man who walked 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. But I'm watching.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Frey, and Mark Reardon, along with Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the Protecting Your Retirement Educational event, Tuesday, August 6th. It's at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30 p.m. Seats are limited, so go online at retirementkey.com. Here's Thomas and Bob with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired and wondering what to do with your life savings? Are you concerned how a major market correction will affect your retirement? Would you like to have a personalized, structured income plan that shows you the monthly income you'll receive in retirement and how to never outlive it?
Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any more losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official financial advisors of my show, Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw, Tuesday, August 6th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30 p.m. Go online at retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
We've been talking about some major crises lately. This is maybe not a major one for you, but it was for me. I ran out of Andrea's barbecue sauce at dinner a couple nights ago. So we had to resort to whatever else was in the fridge, and it had probably been there for a while. It was not a good night. So I recommend that if you find yourself in a situation where you don't have Andrea's barbecue sauce, and maybe you've never tried it. Maybe you've tried their steak sauce over the years, but you haven't tried their new barbecue sauce, which is only been on the market for about a year and a half or so. You got to try it because it's that good. Andrea's got famous because their steak sauce is so good that it is literally world-renowned. People from all over the world will order cases of Andrea's, which only is made right here in St. Louis at the Sauce Building, right there in Fairview Heights. So if you get a bottle of sauce of Andrea's right here, you know it's about as fresh as you could possibly get it, and it is world-renowned. Use their sauces, guys. You will not regret it. If you barbecue, you got to get their steak sauce. If you like, dipping, I do. I really, really do like dip everything that I eat. You got to try their barbecue. You can get both of those at area stores like Deerberg's and Schnucks and little boutique stores, all really, really like Andrea's, or you can go to andreas.com.
I have a save the date for Stray Paws Rescue's annual party. Has food trucks, drinks, raffles, all the good stuff, and puppies, doggies looking for their forever home. If you could, or if you want to, it's in St. Peter's, just go to my website. That is bartinman.com. So that's Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. It's July 27th, 12 to 5 p.m. out in St. Peter's. It's a good time. I'll be there. I just don't know when I'm going to be there, but you get to meet all the volunteers. But if you're looking to do something and you would like just to volunteer, again, go to the website. Can never have enough volunteers. Or if you would like to, if you have a couple dollars and you would like to help a dog out, help a dog out. Help me out. No, not for me. Help a dog out. Again, that is July 27th. Saturday. It's on a Saturday, 12 to 5. Thanks for your help in advance, and God bless.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
At Onder Law, we deliver big judgments for the little guy. Onder Law takes on the biggest industries and holds them accountable. Call today for a free review at 314 or 618-9000000.
Hey, St. Louis, are you in search of top-notch cybersecurity solutions? Look no further. ThrottleNet is here to help. Ransomware attacks are on the rise, putting businesses like yours at risk. Don't let cyber criminals jeopardize your hard-earned success. ThrottleNet provides comprehensive cybersecurity services tailored specifically to your unique needs. Our award-winning customer service provides 24/7 protection to keep your data safe and secure. Take charge of your digital security today. Protect your business, protect your future. ThrottleNet.com, your reliable partner in cybersecurity.
All right, the YouTube live chat poll of the day. How does Kamala's candidacy change the Democrats' chances of winning in 2024? It's pretty much what it's all about, isn't it? So let us know what you think. Better or worse? Interested to see the results of this one. Let us know. 12:45. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
It's what's happening
The argument now is Harris versus Trump.
right now.
Kamala Harris, who has been working with him, has repeatedly said that Joe Biden is physically fit.
97.1 FM Talk. This is the Annie Fry Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. I've been reading through the live chat comments. In fact, I got almost all the way through them during the last break. And a lot of great comments, a lot of great discussions. One term, and I'm sure it's been used before, I know it's not new, but it made me laugh, was the term, the instead of the Annie Show, it's the Manny Show.
Yeah, it's the Manny Fry Show.
It's the Manny Fry Show.
Yeah.
So I know that's been used before. I just liked it. Wanted to give a shout out to the one throwing out the Manny Show reference, so that made me laugh. That and someone commenting on my shirt, and I'm like, oh, okay, sorry.
They didn't like it?
Hey, listen, it's a golf shirt, man.
I mean, yeah, it's just a standard
It's just a
collared
black
shirt.
polo. What is this?
I know. So, the reason why I wear this,
No
though,
logos?
Whenever I'm on the radio, my wife says that's my golf, right? Because I can't hit a golf. I'm terrible at golf. I'm awful at golf. And so, like today, when I left the house, my wife said, "Don't forget to wear sunscreen because I'm going to play
you're
golf."
going golfing.
See, this is my golf.
I
So I
see.
got to wear a golf shirt when I'm doing that, right?
Okay.
So that's the method to my madness. But listen, without any further ado, I want to get to this. It's time for Wiggins America.
Wiggins!
Oh, Wiggins!
Your tease was funny. I didn't know you were going to say, this is maybe your favorite segment, but I know whose favorite segment it is, and I thought you were going to say you.
Yeah.
No. And you said, no, this is Ryan Wiggins' favorite segment.
Of course it is.
That was funny. So I got two, actually, you know what? And I'm so generous. I'm really kind of punting this back into your territory.
Wow. So it's Young's America.
This is Young's America because what I have is two stories that I brought specifically because they involve legal questions. And I thought, well, this is the perfect opportunity to talk about these things and get your legal opinion on them and your personal opinion on them. So here's the first one. It affects probably the most people who are going to be listening right now. The other one's a little bit more fun, but this one is if you work or live or pay taxes in St. Louis, this affects you. A basic income program. Did you know that this even existed in St. Louis?
Was it UBI?
A universal
Guaranteed.
basic
It's a
income
guaranteed basic
program
income, yeah.
has been passed by the far left, deep blue St. Louis City. Now, this is old news. It was designed to help poorer residents in St. Louis by just throwing money at them. Like no ifs, ands, or buts. They were just going to throw some money. $500 a month free. So that's money that you and I pay taxes in the city. They take that. They're just giving it to families for whatever reason. They just, here you go. Here's some free money. Yep. Now, here's where it gets interesting. 2 residents of the city have filed lawsuit against the city in June, challenging this program that would have given all these low-income families free money every month. The lawsuit cites a clause in the state's constitution prohibiting all municipalities and political corporations from granting public money or property to any private individual.
Mm-hmm.
That is an actual clause in the state's constitution, probably written by conservatives in 1801.
Yeah.
I think
back then it would just been citizens,
wasn't Missouri's
not conservatives.
Constitution ratified in like 1948, though?
Sure. Let's say that it was.
But let's think
No,
about
it was
that.
revised. It was the original Constitution was before then.
Okay.
But go ahead.
But my point is this. They would have been right after the Great Depression, understanding that you can't just give money to folks and think that will make things better.
Sure.
That's a good point. So here's where we are with this. This St. Louis Circuit Court judge has barred the program from sending out payments at least for 15 days starting on Friday. So
correct.
He what's that called? Granting an injunction? Is that right?
A temporary restraining order.
Temporary restraining order.
Or an injunction. Both are fine.
Oh, wow. I did it. According to the Center Square, the news site that covers local and state politics, the city planned to deposit about $220,000 into recipients' accounts before the block.
Right.
So my question for you, Brad, is this going to hold? I mean, it seems like it's based on some pretty strong arguments from the state's constitution. But does that apply to just this, or what else would that apply to?
Well, let's break down what the judge actually did, and then we'll talk about what goes after that. The judge issued this temporary restraining order or an injunction for 15 days. But the standard, here's what's important. The standard for granting a temporary restraining order is one that the party in whom the judge is ruling in favor of has to have a reasonable likelihood of success on the merits. So when a judge grants a TRO, the judge has to keep in his or her mind, I'm going to grant this towards a party that I think is ultimately going to win anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a way to get an expedited ruling in advance before the judge issues a final order.
To prevent harm.
To prevent harm, right. So as I read through the entire opinion from the judge late last week, there were two things that went into this determination. Number one was the analysis of harm. What's the harm if I don't grant the TRO? If I don't grant it, then the city's going to lose an extra $200,000 and some odd that if I ultimately find in favor of the plaintiffs and find that the guaranteed basic income program is invalid under the state law, then the city has lost $200,000. What's the harm if I don't grant, or if I do grant the TRO, then it's only for 15 days. So if the recipients of the money ultimately will continue to get the money, then they really haven't been harmed except for waiting 2 weeks to get their checks. So that's the way the judge balanced out how to grant the order. But then secondly, and I think more importantly on the merits of the issue, is that the judge looked at those provisions, analyzed the issue. Here's what the city says. The city's response to that constitutional provision that says, under the Missouri Constitution, the government, no part of the government, municipalities included, can just give out money. And there's a one clause there that makes all the difference in the world from the city's perspective. It says, without any public benefit. Now, we all know during the FDR years that lots of stuff was built.
Mm-hmm.
If you go over to Père Marquette in Illinois, that was built with money after the Depression to put people at work. And the way those passed constitutional at the time was under this idea that the community benefits because they're building a lodge, they're building a road, they're building something that will be used by the public. That's not the case here. When the $500 check goes to Mr. or Mrs. Jones, who lives in the city, where's the public benefit? The city argued that the public benefit is that by eliminating poverty, by raising the tide against poverty and raising the economic status of all citizens or those who are receiving this money, that the community benefits by having fewer people in desperate poverty. So that's my analysis mode. The judge ruled that I'm reasonably likely to rule in favor of the plaintiffs, meaning I'm probably going to strike this down, but I'm going to give myself 2 weeks to make a final decision. And during those 2 weeks, I'm going to pause the benefits so that the city doesn't pay out $200,000 and then can't get it back when I rule against them. So that's where we are. I do foresee the judge ultimately ruling in favor of Beavis Schock is the attorney, same attorney that represented Charlie Brennan when he challenged the red light cameras. I ultimately see them ruling against the city and finding this guaranteed basic income program unconstitutional, and then up on appeal it goes.
I say we give it a shot because it'll end poverty. Next one.
Okay. Good luck with that.
I mean, I didn't know solving poverty was that easy. You just give people money.
Well, don't you remember? This was in the 90s.
From the government.
This was in the 90s. Some city in California eliminated all eliminated all homelessness, eliminated every bit of homelessness by finding that if you were registered to vote and you lived on a park bench, then that was your residence for voting purposes. And so by doing so, the implications were now homelessness has been eliminated with the stroke of a pen, because if your residence is a park bench, then by definition, you're not homeless.
I mean, who's to say?
You have a residence.
Yeah, who's to say what a house actually is?
That's right.
What is the definition of is?
I mean, these are good questions, Brad. I don't know if I have time to get in this second one. I do want to say that I can't believe we're in a place where, thank God for some of the constitutional provisions that we have.
I know.
And the problem is that they're not written specifically enough because, like you said, well, if it's for the public good, well, that's pretty broad.
Yes, it is.
And so you have to determine what that means. And that would be state by state, because if the Metro East did the same thing and somebody sued them, they'd take this to the state court, and the state court of Illinois would say, oh, no, that's for the public good. Whereas in Missouri, they probably are not.
Hey, I just got a text from a friend of mine saying that Beavis Schock is not the main attorney on this guaranteed basic income case. It's Kim Mathis. But I do know that Beavis is working on it, but he's not the primary counsel.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. Well, so I have this other case that maybe we can get to later.
We can do another segment on this.
Sure, and it's a lot of fun, but I really wanted to get to that because when I saw this, it wasn't a local story. This was national news.
No, do it as a tease.
And the St. Louis one.
Yeah.
When I was looking at UBI, I'm like, this is a St. Louis-based universal basic income program. So we have to bring that up. But the next one is related to your conduct in the office. And I'm not saying you to any...
My conduct? Like J. Bradley Young's conduct?
I can't say. You have to see whether you've done this in the office or not. Because if you have... you could lose your job now.
Oh, no. Who would fire me? I own my own firm.
I mean, that's a good question, but...
Well, we're going to answer those intriguing questions on a Part B of Wiggins America. See, I told you, that Wiggins America is so popular, particularly among men named Ryan and Wiggins, that we have to do it as a two-parter.
Yeah.
And we'll be covering that next on the Annie Fry Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
Are you worried about the state of the economy? Concerned about market crashes and rising inflation wiping out your savings? At Noble Gold Investments, we understand your fears and have a solution. Call us today at 1-888-403-1050. Imagine safeguarding you and your family with a tangible asset that has stood the test of time. Gold. With Noble Gold Investments, you can diversify your portfolio and protect your wealth from economic turmoil. Our team will guide you through the process, ensuring you make informed decisions that best suit your needs. Call Noble Gold Investments today at 1-888-403-1050. That's 1-888-403-1050. The future is uncertain. Take control now. Call 1-888-403-1050.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Joe Biden and the radical left opened our borders. They sent border wall materials to the scrapyard and let in more than 7 million illegal immigrants. Why? They think they're importing future Democrat voters, changing our elections forever. Mary Elizabeth Coleman is fighting back. She's a conservative mom on a mission, running for Secretary of State to save the integrity of our elections. Here's Mary Elizabeth Coleman.
There are 77,000 illegals in Missouri. This isn't just an invasion, it's an occupation. I'm Mary Elizabeth Coleman, and I'm running for Secretary of State to save the sanctity of your vote and mine. I'll fight election fraud and ballot harvesting, and I will never let illegal immigrants dilute your vote. And I will stand up to the woke radicals who want to censor our speech, persecute people of faith, and repeal our Second Amendment rights. I'm Mary Elizabeth Coleman, and I approve this message.
Paid for by friends of Mary Elizabeth Coleman.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon from my friends at Zero Res, and the month of July is National Carpet Cleaning Month. Because of that, I have a great offer from my friends at Zero Res. And by the way, I started off the month with some pet accidents that I needed the help of Zero Res to come into my home and clean up, and they're always there for you on that. But here's a great deal for you. If you haven't had the carpets done in a while, Zero Res is offering 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at $129 and the 4th room free. Carpet, tile, rugs, upholstery, everything in your home can be Zero Resified by the pros. They have great teams here in St. Louis, and they can get you on the schedule very, very quickly. I've loved them for more than 10 years, and because we do have what we call the Reardon Zoo with the animals, every once in a while you do have a pet accident and you need their help. They have awesome, awesome service with biotreatments, etc., that can help you clean out those stains and odors. But take advantage of the July deal. 3 rooms, Zero Resified, starting at $129. The 4th room free, 474-2020. Online, ZeroResSTL.com. You spell it backward or forward, it spells the same. Zero Res.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio.
That's GetJim.com.
97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
A change at the top. I'm Roger Stern, Fox News. 10 days after a sniper shot former President Trump at a rally in Pennsylvania, Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle has resigned. Fox's Ryan Schmelz has reaction on Capitol Hill.
Director Kimberly Cheadle was facing calls from a growing number of lawmakers on both sides of the aisle demanding her resignation.
She failed at her job.
Florida Democrat Jared Moskowitz was one of the members frustrated with her lack of answers during a hearing before lawmakers this week. Several lawmakers say Congress needs to investigate security failures leading to the assassination attempt on former President Trump to ensure it doesn't happen again. On Capitol Hill, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
Trump responded to the resignation, posting on social media, "The Biden-Harris administration did not properly protect me, and I was forced to take a bullet for democracy." Speaking of the former president, he's appealing the nearly $500 million judgment against him at his civil fraud trial in New York State. Fox's C.J. Papa with that.
He's not in an Empire state of mind. Former President Trump doesn't want to fork over nearly $500 million to New York State. His lawyers filing paperwork in an appeals court Monday claiming the judge's ruling was erroneous and egregious. Plus, if the ruling is upheld, it could give State Attorney General Letitia James limitless power to target anyone she desires, including self-described political opponents. The AG firing back, saying we won the case based on fact and the law and are confident we will prevail on appeal. It was back in February that a Manhattan judge found the former president lied about his wealth on financial statements given to banks and others to make deals and secure loans with lower interest rates. CJ Papa, Fox News.
Following the case, Trump was banned from running a New York company for 3 years. America is listening to Fox News.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Fox.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Not a lot of push, not a lot of change in our weather the next several days. Partly sunny skies this afternoon. Maybe a spot or an isolated afternoon storm. 87 for the high. It's not too bad. Tonight, partly cloudy, 80s this evening, 69 for the low. Wednesday, partly sunny, spot afternoon storm, 90 on Wednesday. Hottest of the week. Same story on Thursday, except the high Thursday, 87. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Cassens, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. I appreciate Cassens & Sons so much for being reliable, for being good people, and of course, selling me multiple great vehicles that I can enjoy riding in and feel safe putting my kids in, I trust Cassens & Sons, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, and I hope you'll give them an opportunity to earn your business. If I need to purchase a vehicle, I'm going to go to a place that I know that I can trust them, that I know that they're going to give me the fairest price on the vehicle, that is going to be a quality vehicle, that they're going to make it right, and that they're going to provide me the service that goes along with that purchase well past the time that we make that purchase. 618-800-2712. 618-800-2712. Call them directly and tell them that Annie sent you. They're located on 159, just about a mile north off of 270. It's very easy to get to, and I promise you, if you're looking for a place to buy a car where you can put your trust in the hands of the people selling it to you, it's Cassens. CassensSons.com.
Sick of those annoying ads slowing you down online? Introducing i3 Broadband's 100% fiber optic network with advanced whole home Wi-Fi. With speeds up to 8 gigabits, buffering is so yesterday. Our rock-solid connection keeps you streaming, gaming, and browsing without a hitch, thanks to our ad blocking feature. No contracts, no hidden fees, just pure internet bliss. And we've got a no-risk 30-day money-back guarantee. Dial 877-976-0711 or swing by i3broadband.com/STL. We're local, reliable, and committed to St. Louis.
Biden's open border policies are crushing Missouri. Yet, the Jeff City Swamp is boosting a program subsidizing health care for illegals, the same program behind Planned Parenthood's discount abortion scheme. Thankfully, Iraq War veteran Andrew Bailey is on guard. Like Trump, he's a fighter. As your Attorney General, Andrew Bailey won't stop fighting illegal immigrants and Planned Parenthood. Call 314-340-6816 and thank Andrew Bailey. Stand For Us PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. StandForUs.com.
Supporting your nutrition should be easy. That's why we created the Neovitin Women's Multivitamin monthly subscription. Get your daily Neovitin Women's Multivitamin delivered directly to your door every month. You can pause or cancel your subscription at any time with no long-term obligations. With B vitamins to support energy, vitamin D for bone support, and our physician-formulated proprietary blend, Neovitin Women's Multivitamin is here to support your nutrition every day. Start supporting your nutrition and sign up for a monthly Neovitin Women's Multivitamin subscription today at neovitin.com.
Are you ready to shape the future? Missouri is crafting its master plan on aging, and we want to hear from you. Visit health.mo.gov/aging to share your thoughts, ideas, and concerns. We can create a vibrant, inclusive future for all generations.
It's what's happening.
The argument now is Harris versus Trump.
Right now.
Kamala Harris, who has been working with him, has repeatedly said that Joe Biden is physically fit.
97.1 FM Talk.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. Brad Young sitting in today on a lovely Tuesday afternoon. Glad you are with us today because we're having a good time here. And as always, flying the plane, Mr. Brad Range, good to see you, sir.
I'm glad to be back.
And Ryan Wiggins, thanks for being here.
No problem.
And in the last segment, we were doing Wiggins America, which was so popular, so overwhelmingly enjoyable, enthralling, and intellectually stimulating that we decided to carry this over into this segment. So what's next on Wiggins America?
Okay, this is part 2. So this is another legal case that I wanted to bring to you because it involves the workplace and some shenanigans.
I do employment law, by the way.
So I thought, well, you know better than anybody. So this is a former employee of the San Francisco District Attorney's Office.
Okay.
Now, not directly going to affect you as much as the universal basic income of St. Louis would, but maybe indirectly if you were to do what he did. So he is a former employee, San Francisco District Attorney's Office. He is suing his workplace for wrongful termination because he, in January, hit reply all.
Uh-oh.
and accidentally sent a sexually explicit email to his entire office.
No.
Now, that's the headline.
Hold on.
But when
This
you
is
read
loaded.
when you read what he said,
yes,
and the way this played out, you go, okay. So in an email thread planning an event commemorating his buddy, commemorating Matthew Shepard, a gay student at University of Wyoming, which really that part of this is getting mentioned, but it doesn't really have anything to do with it. This guy named Jovan Thomas, he sent his coworkers a message, quote, "What color panties you have on?" Unquote.
Ooh, okay.
Now, people said, well, does this have anything to do with that? It didn't. The lawsuit on Friday, at least according to him, it didn't.
Yeah.
The lawsuit filed on Friday, Thomas's lawyers claimed that the original message was intended just for his friend who was burying his father in New Zealand. He's good enough friends with this guy that he sent a really, really off-color remark what he says was, hoping to cheer up his friend who is distraught and grieving the death of his father. The plaintiff intended to send this text or message to his friend as a jokey question of the sort that the plaintiff had sent his friend on occasion in the past. So the lawsuit describes the comment as a, quote, whimsical comment. Whimsical comment that was part of the plaintiff's standard jocular repertoire with his buddy, and claimed that the email had no sexual, off-color, obscene, misogynistic, or sexist meaning or intent, simply intended as a goofy non sequitur just to his friend.
Correct.
Sent reply all by accident. Now, the case, if you're wondering what the case is, seconds after the email, he realized he had done it. He realized, I just sent "What color are your underwear?" to the entire office. And he sent a follow-up email attempting to explain the remark. He said, while texting back and forth with my fraternity brother, I sent a very inappropriate email. The email was meant as a joke to him. He also sincerely apologized to his coworkers and said, please know this is not who I am as a person, he gets into all this stuff. And I carry myself with respect and dignity, especially. Another follow-up email from the DA, because remember, this is not just a workplace. This is the San Francisco District Attorney's Office. The assistant DA said that the matter is being handled by the administration and instructed other employees to delete Thomas's first message. His case is that after he was fired, he was told that there was no code of conduct violation and that he would be okay. So my question for you, Brad, is throughout all of this, is any of this grounds for termination? And then does he have a case in saying, but you told me that I wouldn't be?
Right. Well, let's break this down to some extent. Okay?
There's a lot going on.
There's
here.
a lot to unpack. First of all, California has some degree of what's called employment at will. What that means is that as an employer can terminate the employment of any employee for any non-discriminatory reason. Same as in Missouri, same as in Illinois. So in other words, you don't have a right to your job. You have the right to terminate that. One of the discrimination elements under California law, though, is making someone else feel uncomfortable based upon issues that may deal with sexuality. So even though he didn't intend it to be offensive, he didn't intend it to even go to the audience that it went to, the question isn't how it was intended. The question is how it was received. Let me completely change the facts. If his fraternity brother he thought was in the next room and he was going to open the door and moon his fraternity brother, but instead it's the door to the conference room where they're having a ladies' meeting, and he moons all the ladies, he can say, oh, sorry, I meant that for my fraternity brother. I didn't know you were in here. The effect would be the same, okay? So California law, unlike Missouri, is much more strict when it comes to, is what you did objectionable in terms of the hearer or the recipient of the email, not the intent for which it was sent. So I would think for the termination, the employer would have to be able to come up with some employee that said, you know what, when he asked me what color are my panties, it really offended me. I was afraid for my life. I thought that I was going to be molested. I thought, XYZ, I shouldn't say XYZ because means something else. But for whatever reason, they'd have to show that there was an impact in order to demonstrate it. The other thing that goes into effect on this is as follows. What kind of employee was this? Okay. If this was an employee that had all kinds of employment problems, and this was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back, all of that comes into evidence at the wrongful termination. So the employer can say, look, you were a liar, you were a cheater, you were a bum, and those were your good points. And we were just keeping you around until you asked all the staff, what color are your panties? And that was it. Hey, pal, you got to go.
And it was same day that they fired him.
Right. So that,
well,
to me...
That's part of it, too. I won't get into that yet. But.
Okay. So that could also be part of this analysis, too. We don't know what kind of employee he was. So whenever I'm informing employers about how to terminate employees, which is something I do on a daily basis, I always want to know what conduct did this employee do before this incident? Was he a stellar? Because it makes it very hard if they've got all of these glowing reviews, best employee ever, and then you fire them for something innocuous, then it becomes, was this discriminatory or not? So those are the issues that go into play. I know it's not terribly exciting, interesting, funny, or enjoyable, but that's the answer.
Well, here's a little bit of a twist on his story that really the suit is not based on the things that you were saying, because I think he probably knows he would lose on those things. But he says that the same day that happened, they pulled him into the office and they laid him off. And he was told that there would be no disciplinary action after the layoff. But then I guess they went ahead and made the layoff permanent and they fired him.
Right.
So is there a case for him there?
Well, here's what we don't know. Anytime I get a call from an employer client of mine that says, here's an employee who's done something wrong, what do we do? The first thing I always say is send them home with pay. Send them home right now with pay. Get them out of the office, send them home, and conduct your investigation. Because you don't want the subject of the investigation going around and telling everybody, hey, psst, if the boss says something to you, put in a good word for me. So you send them home, but you pay them. But then you do an investigation. And you find out who said what, how was it received, how was it interpreted, how was it applied. So it could be in this situation, they sent them home, did an investigation, and somebody, Mary Lou in accounting said, oh my goodness, this triggered me. I was sexually assaulted 5 years ago, and when he asked me that, I was triggered by that. And that, boom, that's all it takes. So really what we don't know is what happened that's not in the story. But those are the things that go on behind the scenes when you've got an investigation into employee conduct.
I would think that not only is context everything, because like you said, if the guy's never been a problem and then obviously, oh, shoot, I really messed up here. Sorry, everybody, I didn't mean to do that. That's one thing. If he had constantly been kind of walking the line and you go, well, old Joven's doing it again or whatever, but that would be one thing.
Old Joven. Good old Joven.
But I would wonder, based on your explanation of harassment in an office, what constitutes harassment? Because there are a lot of things, like you said, if it's in the eye of the beholder could say anything is harassment. So you could come up with, and I'm going to make up a scenario here that's clearly not based on any experience that I've ever had.
Okay, buckle up. Here goes. Buckle up.
Let's say that somebody, and this was not me, but let's say somebody in an office wore a Halloween costume as a man. Again, this was not me, but I did see this happen. Wore a Halloween costume that had fake cleavage. He was dressed up as a girl and had fake cleavage in the costume. Could somebody say that was offensive to me on any number of grounds? Whether it be, well, you dressed up as a woman, you're not supposed to do that, you're hurting trans feelings, whatever, nowadays. Sure. Or he's not a woman and he dressed up as one and was showing something that he should not have shown, whatever it is. It seems like the eye of the beholder is pretty wide.
Yeah, and apparently the cleavage was as well.
It was. It was pretty low.
But Brad Range, before I answer the question, didn't it sound weirdly specific? The fact pattern,
specific.
like he said, "Oh, like I've got a friend of mine. I've
actually
heard of this.
Totally not me.
I have a friend how when he was, and you couldn't see this necessarily unless you're watching the stream. But when Ryan was describing it, he was showing exactly where on his own body this costume was cutting down to. So
Yeah.
I just think it's weirdly specific. But to answer
I
your
will
question,
guarantee you that I basically dress up as one thing every single year, and it's Captain Kirk because I got a shirt.
oh, I would love to do that.
Yeah, it's easy.
I would love to do
It's that or Mary Todd Lincoln.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that too. Okay, never mind. I'll take it back. I did dress up as a woman once,
did?
apparently, and it was on this show.
Mary Todd Lincoln.
It was Mary Todd Lincoln.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow. So here's the answer to the question. The favorite word. There's one word that is the favorite word of every attorney. One word. Favorite word. It
Money.
is. Okay. There are two words that are the favorite of every attorney. Money and reasonable or reasonableness. Okay. So the question becomes, because that's what a jury is going to decide. The question becomes, would it be reasonable for someone to be offended by a Halloween costume that showed cleavage? In the context of a Halloween costume, the attorney would argue it's not reasonable to be offended because it is known to be, to use your term that you used earlier, in a jocular situation with Halloween, okay? But if somebody just gets an email that says, what color are your panties? All right, if they get that email, right, there's no context. There's no context. So then you could say it is reasonable that a person would be offended by that without having the context of the purpose for the email.
Objection, my client did not say it in that voice.
Okay.
It was an email.
Yeah.
It's whatever
Yeah.
voice the person
Exactly.
heard it in.
Hey, and so that makes a whole lot of sense. The word reasonable seems like that's the reason there are court cases.
You got it.
I mean,
everyone's definition of reasonable is different.
And last question, this would be a really quick one. But let's say, and this is another hypothetical, let's say a senator was hiding gold bars in his jacket at home.
Oh, that could never. That's a crazy example.
Should he resign or not?
That would
So
never happen.
where do these gold bars come from?
Egypt.
Because I was going to say, because if they're just his gold bars,
Right.
then there's nothing wrong with
You're
it.
right,
It's
if he's
dumb.
just hiding them.
Or were they in the glove box of, say, and I'm just going to be crazy and make up an example, in a Mercedes Benz that was given by representatives of the Egyptian government?
Let's say that it is.
Okay.
Should he resign?
Well, I think
Because that's what's on Fox News right now.
Well, I think in the words of the framers of our Constitution, actually the Declaration of Independence, that is self-evident, is that the answer is yes. He should
and
resign.
if I were arguing for the plaintiff here, I would say that is unreasonable.
It is unreasonable. Yeah, I don't know how those gold bars got there.
Those are my wives.
I put on a few pounds. I took my jacket to the tailor. It comes back with gold bars.
Yeah, I'm the luckiest senator in the world.
Wow, I don't know how they got there.
It's like when they pull the cop the cops pull the guy over and they find drugs on him. He's like, "That's not mine.
That's not mine."
What?
What?
There's what in the trunk? That's a ton of heroin.
That's right. I don't know how it got there.
I hate heroin.
You know what? I don't know how it got there. It's just a mistake. Must have been planted.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
You cleared up a lot for me.
That's good, and you'll get my bill. Speaking of money,
I'm sure I will.
You'll get my bill.
Billable
I'm sure I will.
hours.
That's
That's
you got
another
it.
phrase they like.
Oh, billable hours. I know, but it's drudgery to try to fill out your timesheets every day. You know what's not drudgery though is listening to the Annie Fry Show. We've got more. You love my transitions, don't you?
You're the best. I live for them.
I got to come up with witty transitions.
You know what's not drudgery? Yeah, he's done it again. He's amazing. He's listening to this show.
More amazing witticisms next on the Annie Fry Show. Brad Young sitting in today, 97.1 FM Talk.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Fry Show.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. With Ramp, you get full visibility into your company's spending and control who spends what with each vendor. Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts instantly to save your team valuable time. Ramp automates data entry and routine tasks with automated approvals, expense categorization and bill payments, time-consuming tasks. Which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. Get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/free. Ramp.com/free. RAMP.com/free.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
I was having a lot of sinus infections. My sinuses were clogged, pressure, headaches.
Linda suffered for years with chronic sinus infections.
You don't feel like doing anything. When you feel like your head is completely clogged, all you want to do is just lay down and sleep. And the pressure, it's just not fun, always walking around with a headache.
Now, her issues are gone. How? A minimally invasive procedure done in the office of St. Louis Sinus Centers called balloon sinuplasty.
I really did not know what it was like to feel like you're really breathing and not being so clogged up. I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I would definitely recommend it for someone else.
Do you suffer with chronic sinus infections, facial pain, pressure, congestion? Find out if balloon sinuplasty is the solution for you. Set an appointment today with St. Louis Sinus Centers. Call 314-332-2885. 314-332-2885. That's 314-332-2885.
Patriots like President Trump never stop fighting for their country. Because Trump knows America's on life support and says Dr. Bob Onder can help him save it. Trump's endorsed Dr. Bob Onder for Congress, calling him an incredible America First patriot who will fight tirelessly for our families and conservative values. Dr. Bob Onder, the Trump-endorsed America First conservative. Kurt Schaefer is different. Trump calls Schaefer weak on MAGA because Trump knows his record, voting to let foreign-owned entities buy up Missouri farmland. Now China owns over 40,000 acres. And Schaefer's campaign took $30,000 from a Chinese-owned company. He won't make America great. He'll make China rich. If given the chance, Schaefer will do it again. Win It Backpack is responsible for the content of this ad. Paid for by Win It Backpack. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. WinItBackpack.com.
At Stifel, we put everything into the success of our advisors so they can put everything into your success. That means more than just building you a portfolio. It means we're invested in you and your future. And it means taking a personalized approach to managing your wealth. That's why Stifel is once again the top-ranked wealth management firm for employee advisor satisfaction. Stifel, where success meets success.
Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE. For J.D. Power 2024 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Help if you want to sell your home as is. Help doesn't matter the condition it's in. Help if you want a simple sale with no agency fees. Claiming groups got you covered, no contingency. House a mess, roof damage, bad taxes, that's all okay. Make sure you remember to call Claiming Real Estate.
Let us help you. ClaimingGroup.com. KLAMEN Group.com.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. 9 out of 10 homes are under-insulated. Is yours? Did you know that there's an R value associated with insulation? To find out your R value or for free insulation estimate, visit aircomfortservice.com.
St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
The Mark Reardon Show.
Tuesday afternoon, the Pennsylvania State Police get to tell their side of the story in the assassination attempt, plus Sean Spicer at 3:25.
Weekdays from 3 to 6 on 97.1 FM Talk. You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Fry Show.
You know, I don't think we can beat the last segment for, as you say, jocularity.
That is what I say.
That's what you say.
That's my word.
Is that a real word?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Okay.
That's a real word.
Or is that a legal word?
Because Ryan says stuff with a straight face, and you just never know.
Like Edward, what's the guy's name that was in the
Scissorhands?
Not that.
See,
the Glass Onion.
Oh, geez.
The last that was that last Daniel Craig movie where he is
that's
the
a good movie.
investigator and Edward. Gosh, I'm dropping his last name. He also played the Hulk in the very first Hulk movie.
I keep wanting to say Furlong.
Edward Norton.
Edward Norton. Yeah, he would just be making up words. And they were not completely and totally nonsensical words, and he was just making them up. And finally, Daniel Craig had to call him on it.
Knives Out.
Knives Out. Yeah,
That's the
the
name of the
it was the Glass
Glass
Onion.
Onion.
Yeah, that was a great movie, by the way. Hey, I want to talk in this segment about this because we've had a lot of litigation coming through the Eighth Circuit recently, and the Eighth Circuit is based right here in St. Louis.
Okay,
and it's been important litigation. It hasn't been getting a lot of news because this is a crazy news cycle. In fact, several folks on the live chat today have been talking about how Annie Fry was gone on like one of the busiest 2 weeks of the year is when she was gone. So a lot of this is getting overshadowed. But one of the things that has been a real pet peeve of mine has been President Biden's attempt to eliminate student loan debt. Mm-hmm. It's been a big problem for me because from a policy perspective, if you think about it, there is no elimination of debt, right? It's a transfer of debt.
Right.
It's a transfer of debt from John Smith, who borrows the student loans, to all of us, including the people who never went to college. Mm-hmm. And so it's a transfer of the debt, and ultimately it's being transferred, and the Chinese are buying it because they're the ones, and among others, that are buying our T-bills and Treasury notes. So it's not an elimination; it's a transfer of debt. But then, secondly, just the idea that you make a contract, you borrow the money, you go to college, you get the degree, and then you don't want to have to pay it back. And to me, I just have a big policy problem with all of those things.
Policy problem, yes. Personally, it sounds like a great deal.
Yeah.
If you're the one doing it, man,
yeah,
what a deal you just found yourself in.
Right. That's like indicative of like a bigger issue we have in our society. I mean, you could put whatever issue in you want here. It's the lack of responsibility for your own actions. You want to be free from the consequences of your actions. That's one of the things that I think of whenever it comes to the abortion question. People are like, it's my body, it's my choice. And it's like, I agree, you had a choice for the most part, save rape and incest, but you had a choice.
Right.
Now you're talking about the consequences. You don't want to deal with the consequences of the choice you made. Same thing with student loan debt. You made the choice to go to school. You made the choice to pursue that degree path. You made the choice to go into that career field. And then now you also made the choice to pay that off. And now you're like, I don't actually want those consequences. I just want the degree and not to pay anything.
Correct. But the part of that my body, my choice argument that falls apart is you're right. It is your body. It is your choice. But at the point you made a poor choice, the consequence of that is now not your body. It's a separate DNA. It has separate and distinct DNA from your body. So the my body, my choice may apply up until the time of conception. But from that point forward, it's not your body, and it shouldn't be your choice.
Yeah.
For Wiggins America, I'll do a segment that has a theme to a number of stories. One of them I reported on from a California segment. I play the little California sounder. Was that one of the policies of, I think this was San Francisco, was that they were going to start, and you've probably heard about this because it's been going on for a year or two, that they were going to start giving out crack pipes for free to drug addicts. Well, their reasoning was, well, it's because we don't want them to kill themselves using dirty needles and stuff like that. So we're going to give them the paraphernalia for free so that it's clean. Well, you are removing all of the consequence for making very, very, very bad choices. Yes. And you can have all the sympathy in the world you want, but what they have done now, the news story was that they've made government-sanctioned crack houses. And that people don't go to them or around them because that's where all the drug addicts hang out because they just give free drug stuff.
Sure. And talk about, the word and the phrase being an enabler, where you enable someone to have bad conduct, bad behavior. How is that any different? How is that by giving drug users crack pipes and needles? How is that any different from saying to your buddy who's an alcoholic, because I know you're probably going to go drink whiskey, I'm just going to give you all the beer you want to drink. All the beer you want to drink. I'm just going to give it to you. You're enabling that person's addiction, and you're furthering the damage to their body by enabling them to do that.
Yeah, and that is now state policy in very, very liberal areas.
But that was the issue that really came to pass, even in a greater sense, talking about enabling, was there was one of the cases at the U.S. Supreme Court this year was a case out of Oregon where the city of Oregon, Grants Pass, Oregon, I believe was the name of the city, where they passed anti-camping statutes because they had homeless people, because all of the the liberal do-gooder people in Oregon said, yeah, we want all the homeless people to come here, and we'll take care of them. Well, the consequence of that was feces in the streets, drug use, rampant sexual activity, open and obvious to everyone, and all of the ramifications that go along with that. And so Grants Pass said, you know what, we're going to pass an anti-camping statute. No camping on public grounds. I don't care who you are, we're not going to do it, and if you do, we're going to fine you and take you to the pokey. And it went up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled it's not cruel and unusual punishment to punish someone for this, but cities have to be able to regulate the overtaking of their cities as a result of progressive policies. And we had that right here in St. Louis. Remember all the tents and the encampment that was on City Hall? It looked crazy. And it was terrible. There was defecation on the steps of City Hall, which some would call redundant. But yet, at the same point in time, it was really an eyesore for the city. And now I did hear that Mayor Jones said that because of the Supreme Court's decision, we'll take some action on it. But there's no way that the city's going to take any action on that because they're run by progressives.
Nothing significant. Yeah,
No.
It could be window dressing. But, yeah, that's the problem is that here's a weird turn, too. That issue is getting worse. The homeless problem is not just getting worse in downtown cities. It is there, too. But it is filtering out to the suburbs. No matter where you go, you're seeing more and more homeless people everywhere.
Yeah, there are people, I see panhandlers. I don't know, is that still okay to say panhandlers?
I'm going to sue you, but yeah, you can say it.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. It's all subjective, right?
Yeah.
Is it reasonable?
I'm offended.
To be offended
As a panhandler.
But every time I get off the interstate now to go home, there was never people there before. There's people in downtown O'Fallon, but in our little downtown area. They're sitting there, sleeping there. You see the blankets or whatever, and it's like this is all new because we're not a big town. We're a small town, and now we've got a homeless population either moving in or unable to afford things to live in the town, and that's just what they have.
Well, the city dealt with this recently. Several years ago, and again, Beavis Schock, who I just mentioned, Attorney Beavis Schock, in the last hour we talked about it. But he represented an individual, I believe it was in Kirkwood or Webster Groves, who was panhandling. The city punished him. He sued. He won. He got $300,000 for a violation of his First Amendment rights, of the panhandler's First Amendment rights, because it was freedom of speech. Now, I'm not going to dive too deeply into this, but the reason why I disagree with that is cigarettes. Let me explain what I mean. You can't have cigarette advertising on television. If you have beer advertising on television, you can't show them drinking. Why is that not a violation of the First Amendment? Because the Supreme Court has consistently held that commercial speech can be regulated. In the idea of beer, you can't show someone drinking beer in a commercial, can be regulated. And commercial speech can even be banned or prohibited, like cigarettes. Can't show them in TV, can't show them in advertising, magazines. So you can even ban commercial speech if it's necessary for the health and safety and protection of the citizenry. So why is a panhandler, to me, that's the definition of commercial speech. Give me money is what they say, right? Mm-hmm. That's commercial speech. So I don't understand why in that case in Kirkwood, that speech wasn't prohibited. The individual who won that case bought a house, he paid cash, he drives a very nice car, and he continues to panhandle.
Really?
Yes. And so he continues to this day. His job is a panhandler, and he owns his own house free and clear. He owns his own car. He drives, he parks away from where he panhandles, and he panhandles for a living. So the question becomes, why can't that speech be prohibited? And I can't, for the life of me, understand a valid argument against that position.
Yeah, it's a good question. So before we break here, just want to let you know that it does look like Kamala Harris is speaking live. This is her first campaign rally. And Brad, whether you want to cut to this now or you want to do it after the break,
Let's go to a break and then come back to this because I want to make sure that I'm okay. If she starts giggling, I have to prepare myself for that.
Yeah, well, Brad's got the dumb button.
Okay, I got to prepare myself for the giggling because that might trigger me. Okay. And it would be reasonable to be triggered by hearing Kamala Harris giggle. So we're going to take a break. I'm going to prepare myself. We'll come back, and if necessary, we'll go to Kamala Harris's press conference. 97.1 FM Talk.
Slap me with the splintered ruler.
The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
If only I could hunt the hunter.
So many people today are just piling up credit card debt. Everything costs more. I understand that completely. With a family of 6, that just every expense hits you differently than it did a few years ago. With that, as credit card debt does pile up, maybe it's time to consider a bagel loan refinance. Stewart's American Mortgage, 314-324-4440, 314-324-4440. Stewie is going to help you. He's going to put you at ease. That credit card debt that is looming large over you every day, you're thinking about it, it's pressuring you, get rid of it. And do it with a bagel loan with Stewart's American Mortgage. It's a smart move. And when you talk to Stewie and you explain him, be honest with him, he is there. He's in your corner. He's going to help you. You are going to understand how the bagel loan refinance, where you pay no closing costs whatsoever, can really be a game changer in your financial situation. Start the conversation. 314-324-4440. 314-324-4440. Google the bagel loan, NMLS number 226715.
Who can Missouri Republicans trust to crack down on illegal immigration and communist China? Not Jay Ashcroft. Jay Ashcroft championed a bill that allowed China to buy Missouri farmland and other property near our military bases. Ashcroft took thousands of dollars of travel from liberal groups, including one that pushed amnesty for illegal immigrants. It gets worse. Jay Ashcroft turned his back on America's veterans and opposed providing vets with any benefits at all, including discounts on hunting licenses and prescription drugs. Jay Ashcroft allowed China to buy our farmland. He vacationed with amnesty-loving liberals, and Ashcroft stiffed America's veterans. There's a better choice. As Missouri's governor, Mike Kehoe will stand with President Trump to crack down on China, secure our border, and honor our veterans. Mike Kehoe is the conservative we can trust.
Cops for Kehoe is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by Cops for Kehoe, and is not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hey, this is Lisa Stofan. Heard the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis hype? Well, I attended because my father stopped smoking with hypnosis. Hypnosis eliminated my desire for soda and fast food, made me want to exercise, and I lost 60 pounds in 6 months. My energy level exploded. I went to another session to deal with some other problem foods, and I lost another 10 pounds. In fact, I brought my husband, and he lost weight, and his cholesterol and blood pressure improved. My friend lost 20 pounds her first 2 months.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose weight or stop smoking guaranteed. Early bird special only $49.99. Hypnosis designed to destroy unwanted cravings, late day eating binges, boredom eating, stress eating. That's right. Seminars Tuesday, August 13th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites St. Louis Airport in St. Louis, and Wednesday, August 14th at the 4 Points by Sheraton St. Louis Fairview Heights in Fairview Heights. Weight loss seminar 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
Gain peace of mind that your flooring and carpet installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's Flooring Outlet. They give all their clients attentive personal service, even bring toys for the kids of the household. It's a family-owned and operated business for 25 plus years. They make sure you make the right choice for your home. So if you have carpets or hard floors, you're going to be happy for years to come. 3 convenient locations in St. Charles County, 116 Main Street, in Old Town St. Peters at Mid Rivers and Highway 70, in West County on Olive, and the store in Darden Prairie. Michael's Flooring Outlet, IGotFloor.com.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at LanceDruryLaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
Presidential candidate Kamala Harris is giving her first address to the nation. I guess it's a campaign rally, but it's really her first address. We're going to go to that live in just a minute. Stick around. 142. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
We're here to help you get registered to vote, whether you're in Missouri or Illinois. Democracy 2024 on 97.1 FM Talk. If you need help getting registered, go to 971talk.com/vote. This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Fry Show.
She's my lady luck, hey, I'm her wild card man.
Wow. Brad Range, good job on bumper music, my friend. Hey, I want to give everyone a trigger warning. We're going to go live now to Vice President Kamala Harris, who's giving remarks about the endorsement she received from President Joe Biden.
I could really speak at length, but a few words about our incredible President Joe Biden. It has truly been one of the greatest honors of my life to serve as Vice President to our President Joe Biden. Joe's legacy of accomplishment over his entire career and over the past 3.5 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, think about it, in one term as president, he has already surpassed the legacy of most presidents who served 2 terms in office. And I know we are all deeply, deeply grateful for his continuing service to our nation. And it is my great honor to have Joe Biden's endorsement in this race. So, Wisconsin, I am told as of this morning that we have earned the support of enough delegates to secure the Democratic nomination. And I am so very honored, and I pledge to you I will spend the coming weeks continuing to unite our party so that we are ready to win in November. So, friends, we have 105 days until Election Day, and in that time, we've got some work to do. But we're not afraid of hard work. We like hard work, don't we? And we will win this election. Yes, we will. So as Leah told you, before I was elected vice president, before I was elected United States Senator, I was elected Attorney General of the state of California, and I was a courtroom prosecutor before then. And in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. I promise you, I will proudly put my record against his any day of the week. Was found liable for committing sexual abuse. As Attorney General of California, I took on the big Wall Street banks and held them accountable for fraud. Donald Trump was just found guilty of fraud on 34 counts. But let's also make no mistake, this campaign is not just about us versus Donald Trump. This campaign is about who we fight for. This is about who we fight for. Just look at how we are running our campaigns. So Donald Trump is relying on support from billionaires and big corporations. And he is trading access in exchange for campaign contributions. A couple months ago, you all saw that a couple months ago at Mar-a-Lago, he literally promised big oil companies, big oil lobbyists, he would do their bidding for $1 billion in campaign donations. On the other hand, we are running a people-powered campaign. And we just had some breaking news. We just had the best 24 hours of grassroots fundraising in presidential campaign history. All right? And because we are a people-powered campaign, that is how you know we will be a people-first presidency. And Wisconsin, this campaign is also about two different visions for our nation. One, where we are focused on the future. The other, focused on the past.
All right, she said she'll put her record up against Donald Trump.
Well, we were cutting live to the address from Vice President Kamala Harris, and I want to correct something. Listen, I'm all about accuracy. And in reading through some of the notes or some of the postings rather in the live chat, someone misquoted. I want to correct this because there is no truth to the rumor that Kamala Harris just said that she knows sexual predators because she's dated men just like that. Now, there is no truth to that.
Yeah,
that we know.
Fact check.
We have to fact check that.
Somebody said that in the stream. We said, no, you can't say that. We don't know that for sure.
I don't know that it was really dating. I mean, does Willie Brown count for that? I don't know because she dated Willie Brown in California.
Right. Yeah. No.
Was that dating?
I don't know.
I don't know if that constitutes
we'll reach out
dating.
to the campaign and ask.
We'll have to dive into that. But she also said this, and this is what I want to ask here for the collective input. And I'm quoting. I wrote it down. Quote: President Biden has already surpassed the legacy of most two-term presidents, unquote. What is that legacy? Honestly, what is that legacy that because I'm hearing this a lot in the last couple of days. People keep saying he's the most popular president ever. Well, if he's the most popular president ever, why is he stepping down?
What I'm learning throughout this process, and I've learned a lot, is that it seems like campaigns sometimes say things that aren't true.
What? What? Ryan Wiggins?
Well,
what?
Listen, hear me out, because when I was listening to the Biden campaign Sunday morning, they were telling me he has no intention of stepping down. And then he did. And so I thought, hang on a second, I think that was a lie. I think that they just lied, or they didn't know what they were talking about, or they're trying to spin something. And I'm very naive when it comes to these things, but that to me was an example of exactly what I just said, that sometimes does happen with campaigns.
You know, what's wild to me is we don't have to sit here and list out all the things that have gone wrong under Biden's administration, what his legacy is or whatever, because our listeners are smart. They know.
You're still living it.
Yeah.
Right now.
You go to the grocery store, you buy stuff. You know that your dollar doesn't go as far as it used to. You know that it's harder to fill up your tank. You know at the end of the month there's a little bit more month than there is money. You know all of that. We don't have to tell you that.
Right.
They sat there and they told us during his entire administration, which Kamala Harris is a part of, mind you, that you don't even know what you're talking about. Things are good. Look how great the stock market is. It's like, okay, yeah, but I can't pay my bills.
Right. Exactly. Well, to me, it raises two issues, particularly now that she is the anointed candidate. It raises two big issues that neither one of them I think are very favorable. Number one, the issue is that we really don't know up to this point why Biden decided to step down. Now, we're supposed to hear from him
Because
tomorrow
he's
night.
courageous. Because he's courageous and heroic.
Well, he's going to clear all this up tomorrow night. He's going to have coverage. It's going to start Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. We're going to have coverage of it here on 97.1, and he's going to explain why he's stepping out of the race, what he'll continue to focus on as he closes out his presidency.
Right.
So he's giving a speech that's tomorrow night. That's Wednesday. 7 p.m. You can hear it right here on 97.1. We'll have the whole coverage. We'll have Fox's coverage of it, and then we'll go back to regular programming when he's done.
But it raises two equally unpopular consequences from this. Number one, if Biden is dropping out of the race because he's no longer politically viable, then why do we have a primary? 14.6 million people voted for him as president, and if he just wiped it all out because he thinks he can't win, then basically that's the most anti-democratic move that's ever occurred in the history of our country, other than trying to remove Donald Trump from the ballot.
Wait, now you're confusing me again because I thought I had this figured out. Kamala Harris just told me that they're running a people-powered campaign.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the people didn't choose? No, you're right. I'm piecing this together now. They didn't choose her.
Exactly. No one's chosen her. Zero. All right? Nobody. All right.
So some power brokers did.
So number one, a couple of power brokers did. But number one, if he stepped down because he thought I cannot win, then he just negated the entire primary with his Twitter announcement. Okay. Number one. If it's not just because he can't win, but because of his health, then really the question becomes, have you been lying to us for the past 3 years about your competency to run the office of the presidency? And if so, does that trigger the 25th Amendment, which requires him to be removed from office if he is incapable of performing the duties of the president?
Well, you've got to ask the question, if it is because of his health, is he capable of performing the duties of president? Like, which one is more difficult? Being president of the United States or running for president of the United States? Which one's more consequential for everybody? And I think that's being president.
Right. Being president is far harder. I mean, campaigning for president, you just show up and give a few speeches. Okay, that's not a big deal. Somebody else writes them. You just stand up and give them. Unless someone's shooting at your head, like we saw last weekend, right? Or the weekend before last. But the reality is those are the only two consequences, or those are the only two options for President Biden stepping down. Either A, he didn't think that he could win, which negates democracy at its core, or number two, he's incapable of doing it, which means your office has been lying to us. Remember, Robert Hur said in his investigation of the documents case with President Biden that he didn't prosecute because he's a man with terrible memory and he comes across as a feeble old man.
Yeah.
I mean, he did one step short of saying, get off my lawn. And so if that's the reality, then you've been lying to us and it triggers the 25th Amendment.
And she's in a weird spot now, too, for the next 3 months. She's got to be saying he's fine to be president, which he's not.
Right.
And no, he's not good to be the candidate because I am.
Right.
What are you saying?
Those are mutually exclusive, and I don't see how you honestly take that position with a straight face. Hey, Brad Young sitting in for the vacationing Annie Fry. We've got one more hour of the award-winning Annie Fry show. It's award-winning because it's my favorite show. So it's got the J. Bradley Young seal of approval and award. So it is award-winning, and we've got more award-winning show coming up next. 97.1 FM Talk.
She's my easy loving woman. I'm her hard working man, no doubt.
Are you worried about the state of the economy? Concerned about market crashes and rising inflation wiping out your savings? At Noble Gold Investments, we understand your fears and have a solution. Call us today at 1-888-403-1050. Imagine safeguarding you and your family with a tangible asset that has stood the test of time. Gold. With Noble Gold Investments, you can diversify your portfolio and protect your wealth from economic turmoil. Our team will guide you through the process, ensuring you make informed decisions that best suit your needs. Call Noble Gold Investments today at 1-888-403-1050. That's 1-888-403-1050. The future is uncertain. Take control now. Call 1-888-403-1050.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Considering new windows? I want you to talk to my friends at Window World. Mark Mark Cox here. They have got a great deal going for you right now. Up to 36 months financing, interest-free, with approved credit. They've never done this before at Window World, so take advantage of this. Call them today at 314-993-1800. Again, 314-993-1800. You hear me talk about Window World, I'm a satisfied customer. I've got their windows in my house. I've been to their offices and I've stood on these windows. I've seen how well built they are. They go in and they are meant to last. You wouldn't give a lifetime warranty on a product if you didn't think it was going to last for a long time, and they stand behind that warranty. In over 20 years of business, they have helped more than 72,000 customers in St. Louis improve the look and the thermal efficiency of their home. Call them today, get your free estimate, and ask about that 36-month financing, 314-993-1800. or windowworld.com.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text LION to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text LION to 42424. That's LION to 42424.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio.
That's GetJim.com.
97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Not a lot of push, not a lot of change in our weather the next several days. Partly sunny skies this afternoon. Maybe a spot or an isolated afternoon storm. 87 for the high. It's not too bad. Tonight, partly cloudy, 80s this evening, 69 for the low. Wednesday, partly sunny, spot afternoon storm, 90 on Wednesday. Hottest of the week. Same story on Thursday, except the high Thursday, 87. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
In Milwaukee.
Meanwhile, Harris picked up the support of the Democratic leaders of the House and Senate, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer.
Today is a great, great day for the Democratic Party and the country. Vice President Harris will soon be our nominee and will be elected president in November. We are brimming with excitement, enthusiasm, unity.
10 days after would-be assassin wounded former President Trump at an outdoor rally, the director of the Secret Service has resigned. But as Fox's Aisha Hosni tells us, that's not enough to satisfy Congress.
President Biden is looking for a replacement for Director Kimberly Cheadle. But folks I'm talking to here on the Hill, both Democrats and Republicans, say it doesn't matter who replaces her. They don't care about that because they say that there are some deep problems within the Secret Service that they want to get to the bottom of. So the director leaving really doesn't change much for lawmakers here. That's why House Speaker Johnson and Democratic leader Jeffries have launched a bipartisan task force today to investigate the assassination attempt and try to figure out how to fix the Secret Service.
President Biden's now testing negative for COVID. His doctor's releasing a statement today saying the president's symptoms are resolved. He's due to return to the White House tomorrow. America is listening to Fox News.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Not a lot of push, not a lot of change in our weather the next several days. Partly sunny skies this afternoon. Maybe a spot or an isolated afternoon storm. 87 for the high. It's not too bad. Tonight, partly cloudy, 80s this evening, 69 for the low. Wednesday, partly sunny, spot afternoon storm, 90 on Wednesday, hottest of the week. Same story on Thursday, except the high Thursday, 87. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Okay, I'm ready to record my jewelry store's new radio spot. I got a great script that really goes after Diamonds Direct and how they're nothing special and how we can match their price. Great stuff.
Oh, great. We have this new technology that bleeps out any false claims, so it saves us time with editing. So you can start anytime.
Okay, here goes. When you visit our jewelry store, we'll guarantee direct. Our diamonds come straight. We have cutters and... Hey, what the...
The hard truth is that other jewelry stores simply can't do what Diamonds Direct can. Diamonds Direct has special relationships with De Beers, international connections, and virtually unlimited buying power. The result is true direct importer pricing, exceptional quality, and up to 30 times the diamond selection you find at other stores.
I can't believe this thing won't let me say...
Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion. Get more truth at diamondsdirect.com, official partner of the St. Louis Blues.
Have you ever had a wedding reception in your yard or scheduled a party, birthday party or whatever kind of party at your house, and during the party or a couple, 3 hours before, notice your air conditioner is not working and it is the hottest day of the year? Or have you come home from a vacation and your house is baking? My experience has been that's when it will break. It just happens that way. So if that does happen to you, or say, again, you don't need to have a party or you don't need to be baked. But if your air conditioner breaks and you need to get the cold air back in your house, call me, Bart Inman. One easy number in Missouri and Illinois. That is 314-293-2600. Again, the easiest of numbers, 314-293-2600, or on the internet, bartinman.com. It's Bart with a B, Inman with an I.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
If you've been injured in a truck accident, you need the best. Onder Law. Let us make your case our cause. Truck accident? Call Onder Law for a free review at 314 or 618-9000000.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
It's what's happening.
And she is going to be the next president of the United States!
Right now.
Director Cheadle, I don't think she should resign. I think she should have been fired.
Keeping you informed.
Ma'am, you are a DEI horror story.
97.1 FM Talk.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what you're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
Right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. Brad Young sitting in for Annie this afternoon until 3 o'clock. Thanks for hanging out with us today. I do have to give a shout out. Mark Cox has been texting me, and I think it's funny that when Mark Cox texts me, when we see each other at events, he always says, Brad, you do a great job filling in. Why don't you ever fill in for me? And my response is always the same. Dude, at 5 o'clock in the morning, I can't put two words together, much less 3 or 4 hours of words. It's just never going to happen.
I was going to say, you got to get up really early.
I
to do Mark
can't,
Cox show.
I can't do that. I can't even talk until my 4th cup of coffee. But I got plenty of coffee in me now, and I want to talk to Jonathan Hoenig. He is a frequent guest. You've seen him. He's with thecapitalistpig.com. He's a frequent guest on Fox News talking about economic issues. Jonathan, great to talk to you again.
Hey, Brad, great to be with you. Good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
Good afternoon. I wanted to reach out to you because one of my issues that I talk about a lot, I love discussing economic issues. And the reason why this is such a crucial economic issue is because ostensibly it sounds really benevolent. We should always be increasing the minimum wage. We should increase the minimum wage as much as we can. We should be paying people more. In fact, California has instituted a special minimum wage of $20 per hour for fast food workers. But the ramifications of this, the chess implications where you have to play 3 and 4 moves ahead, are far different than the ostensibly benevolent aspect. So I wanted to talk to you, Jonathan, because the Wall Street Journal has been covering this. California has been having lots of problems, but let's just start from the beginning. Why is it a bad idea? Why is this a bad idea? I mean, you would think, hey, paying people more money, isn't that a good thing? Why is it a bad idea from an economist's perspective to have this jacked up minimum wage far beyond what is reasonable given the products that are being served?
Well, the minimum wage kills jobs, and that's not my estimation. In fact, that was the discovery of the Labor Department back in the 1930s when the first minimum wage was instituted. Wages are not arbitrary. They're not, based on whim. They're not based on the feeling of the owner or the business owner. They're based on actual productivity. And if you have a minimum wage or you have a forced wage that exceeds the productivity of that particular worker, you have economic costs and you have the elimination of jobs. And that's exactly what you've always seen when you see a minimum wage a number of years ago, or California just a couple of months ago. When you have a minimum wage, job losses always follow, and they have followed in California in just the last couple of months.
And to me, that's really the bottom line, Jonathan. Listen, when I'm not on the radio, my law firm is here in St. Louis. I have to run a business. I have to manage employees. I have to determine how to pay them. So I understand that personnel costs are either oftentimes, if not always, one of the greatest costs of doing business for any company. But if you look at the fast food business in particular, and California in particular, when those individuals are being paid $20 an hour, how does that impact the price of those goods and services?
Well, the goods and services go up, but even more devastatingly, Brett, the jobs and the opportunity go away. I mean, you really should call those minimum wage increases, especially on the fast food workers. It's discrimination against low-skilled people. Businesses are forced to cut jobs to offset the increased labor costs. Hurts exactly the teenagers, the young adults, people with limited experience who are just getting their foot in the door. And, it's really discrimination against low-income employees, and it hurts not only them, but the job market and the economy writ large.
And to me, Jonathan, that's what's fascinating about this issue, because what is ostensibly done for benevolent reasons, we should pay more people money, let's have the government impose a minimum wage. But by doing that, a few people get extra money, and after taxes, they get almost not anything after taxes for additional money. But at the same time, that very act eliminates jobs and takes someone who was making, say, $15 an hour. Now they're making $0 an hour, and that's an awful result for them.
Well, the minimum wage really helps one constituency, and that is the politicians, Newsom, who gets to go run out and say, we raised your wage, thanks to us, those evil businesses are having to pay. Covered is the reduced hours. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So what often happens if jobs aren't lost, employers simply reduce hours, and the reduced training that comes. I mean, why is a business going to invest in training for lower wage people they're going to look into replacing those jobs with automation or just shutting locations altogether. That's exactly what we've seen whenever we've minimum wage up beyond what the normal market rate.
Exactly. We're talking to Jonathan Hoenig. He's with thecapitalistpig.com. And Jonathan, we have seen that. We've seen multiple businesses, fast food restaurants, chains that are all either reducing the number of employees or shuttering their businesses altogether, and then all of their people are out of business, out of work, going on unemployment benefits, taking money from the government that otherwise they would have been earning money. Now they're getting Social Security or unemployment benefits. But let's look at it from a slightly different perspective, automation. So when an employer is looking at paying $20 an hour, maybe when he was paying that person $15 an hour, it was more beneficial to have a person. But at some point, doesn't the cost of paying the employee exceed the cost of, say, putting in a kiosk or putting in an automated milkshake maker or an automated fry maker? And then that in turn also eliminates jobs, doesn't it?
I mean, absolutely. The businesses are incentivized to invest in automation to replace these minimum wage workers when exactly right. The labor cost becomes too high, and it becomes too high totally artificially. I mean, the point is that these are not arbitrary. They're not, based on, gee, if your employer's a really good guy, he'll pay you more. If the job itself only produces, let's say, $13 value, you cannot pay someone $18, $19, or $25 an hour. It's a money-losing proposition, and that's exactly what's being promoted. And that I'll go back to that line from Milton Friedman. No such thing as a free lunch. As you force wages up artificially, you not only force people out of a job, as you pointed to, but you also force higher costs across the board. Businesses have to raise the price on goods to compensate for those higher wages. So there's no such thing as a free lunch. And truly, if the government to improve the lot of people at the lower end of the employment scale, they should work on improving the public schools, improve their skills. That's the only way you can make more money is improving your skills. And, historically, when you look at the minimum wage, people don't earn the minimum wage for very long. It's their first job, period of time. They learn the skills to move up the ladder, if you will. So it's really more of a political issue, the minimum wage.
And that's what I want to get to. That's what I want to get to, Jonathan. You touched on the exact issue that I want to discuss now, which is long before I went to law school, I delivered newspapers when I was in middle school. I worked at a barber shop and cleaned up after closing. I did these really low skill or no skill jobs, but it taught me how to handle money. It taught me how to show up on time. It taught me how to deal with customers and deal with individuals. So when you're looking here at the fast food industry, which is an entry-level job position, and the result of hiking the minimum wage artificially by government fiat results in these people either losing their jobs or never getting hired to begin with, doesn't that have a cascade effect of unintended consequences impacting those individuals who are not going to have an opportunity to learn how to deal with money, who are not going to have an opportunity to understand how to show up for work on time? Isn't this fall under the law of unintended consequences?
Oh, and who knows, you don't know, but who knows we can imagine what happens to those young people. I mean, perhaps they turn to a life of crime. Perhaps they turn to, illicit substances or whatnot. I mean, they don't learn exactly, as you said, the skills, the discipline to show up as you did. And look, I worked for Starbucks was my first job. I don't know if it was minimum wage, but it was darn near close. But as you said, I mean, I was able to, get used to the workforce, learn those skills, and it's exactly what happens. I mean, the minimum wage really disproportionately hurts those low skill entry-level people who are just starting out. And the irony is businesses like McDonald's have historically been so extraordinary about not only moving people up from minimum wage, but moving them ultimately into management and to ownership. So what this is businesses being hurt by politicians. It's politicians trying to get into, the good graces of the population by, saying, oh, we raised your wages. What they don't see are the jobs lost, are the passed on by those artificially high wages, as you said, brought by fiat, brought by government force, not by the marketplace itself.
We're talking to Jonathan Hoenig. He's with capitalistpig.com, frequent Fox News guest. And John, I always love it. Jonathan, I love it how you break down economic issues. And the other economic issue that comes to mind as a result of this artificial increase of the minimum wage. And listen, this isn't just going on in California. Obviously, Bernie Sanders wants to increase the minimum wage, I don't know, to $50 an hour. I mean, I don't know what it is, but whatever number is wrong if it's imposed by government and not the private sector. And certainly Kamala Harris is going to be making that same pitch. But here's the other question I want to ask you. Inflation. Right now, one of the greatest economic issues that we have in this country is inflation. So when you talk about government raising the minimum wage, how does that impact the costs that we all pay, that consumers pay for goods and services across the board?
It not only hikes the costs, but it reduces the opportunity. I mean, think about it. You're thinking about starting a business, and maybe you can only afford 1 or 2 employees. Increased labor costs is a complete discouraging formation. So there's really nothing good economically about the minimum wage. I mean, you have to literally search to find economic data that supports a higher minimum wage. The only one that really helps are those politicians. They get to go out and wave their hands and have a ribbon cutting ceremony and promise that this is going to alleviate poverty. And I think that's the real kind of frustrating and sad thing is that it really has a real limited impact on poverty. I mean, this doesn't translate to lifting many families out of poverty, and especially since benefits often are reduced to programs. They might have to hire you for higher wage, but they reduce your hours, they reduce your benefits, they reduce your bonus because there's no such thing as a free lunch. So if government really wanted to help low-skilled employees, they would improve the thing that they have a monopoly over, and those are the schools, so people can actually learn higher skills and get better jobs.
Exactly. And that's the reason why I wanted to ask you that question, Jonathan, is because I think for many, I'm going to call them regular citizens, regular people who don't work in fast food, and they think, well, what does it matter to me if the government wants to impose a $20 minimum wage at McDonald's? But for regular people, when that minimum wage is imposed and the cost now of a Big Mac has to go up, the cost of coffee at Starbucks has to go up to pay these employees. Now that regular Joe citizen may not have enough money to buy a refrigerator, buy a new car, buy a new house because of the inflationary impact of buying McDonald's burgers or Starbucks coffee.
Absolutely. I mean, it adds to the bottom line of all of us just trying to live our lives. And I mean, and it's certainly, it's not inflationary in the sense that it's not expanding the money supply as inflation really does, but it certainly, is expensive and adds to costs and costs that have to be passed on to the consumer. So, all of us now are paying great groceries are a great example, somewhere on the order of 18 to 35% more for the same basket of groceries as we were just 3 or 4 years ago. That's serious money. And the irony is that's the most serious money for exactly those low-skilled, entry-level people that government and the minimum wage purport to want to help. For them, it's that higher increase and higher cost that hurts them the most. So
you're absolutely right. That's why I love talking to you. Jonathan Hoenig, capitalistpig.com. If people want to track you online, read what you have to say, listen to your insight and wisdom, how can they find you online?
Thank you so much. Well, I do manage money over at capitalistpig.com, and you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and all the rest. The main link is capitalistpig.com, and I'm always happy to join you, Brad.
Jonathan Hoenig, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us here on 97.1 FM Talk.
Anytime. Be well. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Hey, we've got more to come here on the Annie Fry Show. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this. Brad Young, 97.1 FM Talk.
The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Point Pest Control. My favorite people. Are you looking to get rid of critters? Are you looking to get rid of bugs? I don't know if you heard the other day when Ryan was talking about his fight with the mouse. Don't do that. just call Point Pest Control next time instead. 636-798-0023, 636-798-0023. Like I did, like Ryan has done. When you reach out to Point Pest Control, they're going to be able to take care of your problem quickly. Whether your problem is mice or spiders or termites, they do termites as well. And especially right now for those who are trying to combat mosquitoes, Point Pest Control can handle all of these problems. And this is really important, folks. Drop the old Annie name in there. Not old. Drop the cool Annie name in there. It's not cool either. Whatever. Just say Annie because you're going to save 10% off of whatever deal you get. You're going to get an extra 10% off by mentioning my name, which is super awesome. Call 636-798-0023, 636-798-0023. Point with an E, pointpestcontrol.com.
Summer is here, which means pool days, beach trips, and yeah, you guessed it, traffic jams. Oh yeah, and heat waves. Don't let summer catch you by surprise. Get the local news you need, no matter what you're up to, with the free Odyssey app. And never miss a beat with alerts on breaking stories sent directly to your phone. Listen today on the free Odyssey app. That's AUDACY.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 40-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost you about $100 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-353-9057. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Providers help thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-353-9057. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-353-9057. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. For affordable term life insurance, call 800-353-9057, 800-353-9057, or biglou.com.
Who can Missouri Republicans trust to crack down on illegal immigration and communist China? Not Jay Ashcroft. Jay Ashcroft championed a bill that allowed China to buy Missouri farmland and other property near our military bases. Ashcroft took thousands of dollars of travel from liberal groups, including one that pushed amnesty for illegal immigrants. It gets worse. Jay Ashcroft turned his back on America's veterans and opposed providing vets with any benefits at all, including discounts on hunting licenses and prescription drugs. Jay Ashcroft allowed China to buy our farmland. He vacationed with amnesty-loving liberals, and Ashcroft stiffed America's veterans. There's a better choice. As Missouri's governor, Mike Kehoe will stand with President Trump to crack down on China, secure our border, and honor our veterans. Mike Kehoe is the conservative we can trust.
Cops for Kehoe is responsible for the content of this advertising, paid for by Cops for Kehoe, and is not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Del Walmsley and the Wealth Cycle.
This is the wealth cycle that I've taught for 30 years. Buy one house, 10 houses, an apartment, 2 apartments, 8, 20, 500 units, 1,000 units, 2,000, 5,000 units. And as you keep putting the money and the profits back in, you become one of those rich people. And much quicker than you'd even believe.
Learn Dell's Wealth Cycle at GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Use promo code 2024. Save 60%. Code 2024. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com.
You're listening to the Annie Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is proud to support Greater St. Louis Honor Flight. Sign your veteran up for the Honor Flight today at gsLHonorFlight.org. And for heating services, visit aircomfortservice.com.
Odyssey is your home for all the audio that matters to you. Download the Odyssey app today to listen to 97.1 FM Talk, even when you don't have a radio. Always streaming at 971talk.com. You're listening to The Annie Fry Show on St. Louis's home for conservative talk. Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Fry Show.
May the good Lord be with you down every road you roll.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. Glad you're with us this afternoon. And here's one thing. We talked earlier about now the would-be presumed presidential candidate for the Dems, Kamala Harris. But I want you to listen to what she says as the campaign starts and at the convention. Because here's what you're going to hear, and I'm going to challenge people to hear this, because she will be talking about all that she will be doing, or the Democrats will be doing for this country. But most of that's going to be done through administrative agencies of the federal government if she were to be elected president of the United States. And yet, because of the Supreme Court that we have in place, because of the elimination of what's called the Chevron deference, which I'll talk about here in just a moment, because of those things, much of the platform of the Democrat Party, much of what she's going to be promising, as Gilligan once said on Gilligan's Island, this, that, and the other thing, all of those things would have to be done via executive action, executive order, but that has now been truncated by the U.S. Supreme Court in the what's called the Loper-Bright decision.
Which is fantastic news.
Yes.
I mean, that's great news. And also, you're right about the promises thing, because Republicans just have to win one branch of Congress for that to stop entirely.
Exactly.
And it looks very likely that they would take the Senate. They might even hold the House. So,
yeah. And as I look at the Senate and you look at the states that are electing senators this time, we could gain lots of seats in the Senate, which of course would be fantastic. But think about this. Remember the eviction moratorium during COVID, where the federal government, the Biden administration, said, if you're a landlord, you cannot evict someone when they don't pay the rent, which was literally the federal government telling private property owners how to manage their business. Because if you can't evict someone and they're not paying the rent, now the person that owns that house has zero income. And I think must be from the liberal mindset that these are big corporations that are owning these houses. But aren't most rental houses owned just by regular people that have an extra house to pick up some extra income?
that's a fact. In fact, the stat is that I've heard thrown around a lot is that, it's BlackRock. You know, people talk about these big companies buying up all the houses. And at this moment, the last stat I heard about that is that BlackRock only owned about 11% of all rental houses, which admittedly is a lot.
Sure.
But that means that 89 to 90% of most rental houses are owned by either smaller little companies or individuals.
Exactly. So the federal government was literally saying to those mom and pops who own rental property that you cannot earn a living. You cannot charge money, get a return on your investment. And the Supreme Court struck that down. Then you had the vaccine mandate, where through the Department of Labor, the Biden administration said if you work for a company with 100 or more employees, you must require everyone be vaccinated. And that was all being done by the Biden administration. Supreme Court struck that down. But now this case, it was called Loper-Bright Enterprises, came down in June. Most people roll their eyes because it wasn't a sexy issue. It's not like, it's overturning Roe versus Wade, or it's something that has to do with Trump on the ballot. It was something as meaningless as regulations for fisheries by fish hatchery businesses. But the implications are going to be profound, because under this Loper-Bright decision, now, let me back up and put it this way. Before Loper-Bright, there was this thing called the Chevron deference. Under the Chevron deference, if an agency wants to say, eliminate student loan debt, okay, let's look at that for a moment. I'm going to bring help and assistance to all college people who've gone to college and had to borrow money. They're having a hard time making ends meet. We're going to bring relief to you, America. And that could be a campaign speech, right? But under that analysis, a judge would first of all have to look and say, is Congress's intent when they empower the statute, empower the agency, is it clear and ambiguous? If yes, they have to do exactly what Congress says. If no, the agency gets to do whatever it wants if it's ambiguous. That was the Chevron deference. So if Congress says to you, federal government, you get to manage student debt, then from the student debt agency and the Biden administration, they could say, well, eliminating student debt is the same thing as managing it, so we're going to eliminate student debt. But now, if it's unambiguous under the Supreme Court's ruling in Loper-Bright, if it's ambiguous, the agency cannot act unless they get more direction from Congress. So now it flips it. So if the government wants to say, if the next Kamala Harris administration wants to say, we're going to just wipe out all student debt across the board, she can't do it. Because unless Congress authorizes it, the agency won't be able to do it.
It's amazing that people are freaking out about that ruling, because what essentially you've just described is what the Supreme Court said is now the unelected bureaucracy doesn't have the power in this situation. It goes back to the organization that is mandated and elected by the people of the country.
And who's upset by that? The left is upset because the voters get to decide. The left doesn't want the voters to decide. Just look at presidential candidate Kamala Harris. Not a single voter in this country has chosen her to be the next presidential candidate, but she will be coronated by an unelected group of individuals, power brokers in Washington, D.C., and in the major cities are going to choose that. The left doesn't want citizens to have a voice. And so that's why they would much rather have an agency filled with government bureaucrats deciding whether you can stop an entire bridge project because a snail darter might be impacted, rather than having Congress do that, who is responsible to us, we the people. And that's what the left doesn't want to have in this country.
Of course, Kamala is going to support that because that is how she got selected. I mean, without those people, I mean, it's not necessarily the deep state, although it could be. But we definitely know that the donors, the big donors in this country who donate to Democrat campaigns, they decided this. And some of them are very well known. Some of them are George Clooney and some of the big Hollywood fundraisers that just happened a couple weeks ago. But some of them, we don't know their names. But the reason I know that they are the ones deciding this is based on public knowledge that she had a call with them Sunday morning.
Yes.
She had a call with over 800 big Democrat donors Sunday morning. We don't know exactly what was said. All that has been leaked from that is that it was run very poorly, which is an odd thing that was what they were reporting on. But that call happened Sunday morning, and then Joe Biden steps down, and guess who got coronated? She did.
Right.
Because of the money.
And the thing about it is, too, what happened with the Democrat Party in the selection and the coronation of Kamala Harris isn't illegal.
No, it's not.
It's not against the Democrats' rules. No. And I know that there are a bunch of Democrats saying out there, there's nothing wrong with this. And it's like, not legally, not against the rules. Yeah, I get what you're saying there. But basically, they just took you out of the equation, and it's up to you to decide. If you're a Democrat voter, are you okay with not really having a voice in it and just saying, but they're wearing the right jersey, therefore I'm going to vote for them?
But see, it demonstrates a mindset. And now I'm going to come back and give you an additional example of this. Legal scholars who are legitimate legal scholars. You know, whenever I'm over on KMOX, I do a show Wednesday morning where I'm a legal analyst. I don't give any opinion. I just break things down, all right? I don't say whether something's good or something's bad. I lay out, here's what this decision means, and this is how it applies to us, all right? But most legal analysts aren't like that. They want to spin everything in favor of their political opinion one way or the other. But most legitimate legal analysts look at Roe v. Wade and say it's the worst decision ever decided by the Supreme Court because there's no legal foundation for how they reached that decision. It was just completely manufactured. But look how this fits into the liberal playbook, because just like we've been talking about this entire segment, where the left only wants a small group of bureaucrats to make decisions instead of those who are elected officials and answerable to the people. In 1972, when Roe versus Wade was passed or was decided, the left used 5 unelected members of a court to invent a new legal process to bypass Congress, to bypass every one of the 50 states in this country, to enact a nationwide policy allowing for the death of human beings at the will of the mother, because they couldn't get it through Congress. So they used a small group of unelected bureaucrats. Here it was 5 people wearing black robes, but it was the same mindset. I don't want to be answerable to the will of the people. I want to have a small group of people whom I control do my bidding for me in a way that they are not answerable to the public. And of course, the Supreme Court have lifetime appointments. But it's that same mindset. And now, with the Dobbs decision didn't outlaw abortion. It said what? It said the governments of each state are empowered to decide their own views on abortion. So now we, the people, have a say, and the left is outraged. The left is beside themselves at anger and vitriol. How dare you allow an issue be decided by the people at the ballot box? And to me, that's a mindset of the left that we need to remember as we see Kamala Harris on the campaign trail from now till November, when she's promising this, that, and the other thing. It's all going to be stuff that the federal government's going to do by unelected bureaucrats. And the only mechanism that we have to stop it isn't some right-wing fascist Supreme Court. No. It's something called the Constitution. And I applaud the Supreme Court now for upholding the Constitution in ways that our framers designed, but in ways that frustrate the left because they are, by definition, anti-constitutionalists.
What's amazing is Roe versus Wade was 1973, right?
I said 72.
Oh, did you? Well, I was correct. I didn't even know it.
It's 73.
Because I was asking myself, 1973. So when that happened in 1973, that means that was, and 2022 is when it got overturned, so 39 years. Is that about right?
Mm-hmm.
That means that they had all of that time to pass a law.
Correct.
And there were many Democrat supermajorities.
Yes.
You think back to 2008 and 9, for instance. They could have done this in multiple spots, and they didn't.
Didn't do it.
And they actually lamented that after this was overturned because they just let unelected people create policy for them that they at some point could have addressed, but they never did because they didn't want it attached to their names. Because up until just recently, abortion was considered something that was supposed to be very rare and was not something you really wanted to like. You know,
Right.
it was something that America said, okay, that's legal, but it's supposed to be, the phrase was safe, legal, and rare. Rare.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have abandoned that because their voters don't care anymore. And they're just going all in on abortion. But they had all this time, exactly to your point, to pass a law, and they never did it.
They never did it. And so as you, the listeners, hear Kamala Harris promising all the things that she's going to do if she were to become president, I want you to think, is that something that Congress would pass? Or is this something that she wants to enable by executive order? And if it's by an executive order, I want you to rest assured that our Constitution will protect us, hopefully, from that type of overreaching, big brother, cradle-to-grave policies that define the left in this country. The only protection we will have if she's president is the Constitution. Hey, we've got to take a break here. We're going to come back with the last segment here on the Annie Fry Show. Brad Young sitting in today, 97.1 FM Talk. Don't go away.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
I feel like with a lot of the people who I've partnered with, I'm always talking to you about the good people at that business. And I say that because that really matters to me. When I go purchase anything or use any service, I want it to be with good people. And that is why I'm so happy to partner with STS Armory. You can call them directly at 618-931-GUNS, 618-931-GUNS. But you can visit them directly in their store in Pontoon Beach, Illinois. They're at the corner of Highway 111 and South Drive, and they're online at sts-armory.com. But if you meet Katie and Jesse, the owners at STS Armory, you're quickly going to understand why so many people, whether they got recommended to go there, or they heard me talking about it, or they just Googled, a local gun store, and that's what they found is STS Armory, they keep coming back because you can trust Katie and Jesse. They're going to help guide you. They're going to help you navigate the Second Amendment in the state of Illinois, and they're going to help you with all of the training, the purchases, the services, the accessories that you need. STS-armory.com.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon getting set to go here after Fox News. Cheadle is out at the Secret Service. We'll cover all of that. Trump on with folks on Fox last night, and we have Sean Spicer at 3:25. It's all coming up.
Joe Biden and the radical left opened our borders. They sent border wall materials to the scrapyard and let in more than 7 million illegal immigrants. Why? They think they're importing future Democrat voters, changing our elections forever. Mary Elizabeth Coleman is fighting back. She's a conservative mom on a mission, running for Secretary of State to save the integrity of our elections. Here's Mary Elizabeth Coleman.
There are 77,000 illegals in Missouri. This isn't just an invasion, it's an occupation. I'm Mary Elizabeth Coleman, and I'm running for Secretary of State to save the sanctity of your vote and mine. I'll fight election fraud and ballot harvesting, and I will never let illegal immigrants dilute your vote. And I will stand up to the woke radicals who want to censor our speech, persecute people of faith, and repeal our Second Amendment rights. I'm Mary Elizabeth Coleman, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Friends of Mary Elizabeth Coleman.
Paid for by Lori Rook from Missouri. Ryan Rook, Treasurer.
You deserve to know where your tax dollars are really going. You deserve to know about the backdoor deals our politicians are making with lobbyists. And you deserve to know when your elected officials are supporting things that compromise your conservative values. But right now, it's all hidden behind the curtain. As your next Missouri State Treasurer, I will publish the full story of our state's spending in one easy-to-use website. Vote for me, Lori Rook, in the August 6th Republican primary, because you deserve to know.
Summertime is crazy time for families, and nobody can go without hot water. If you're in need of a water heater, all you have to do is send a picture of your water heater to Beast Plumbing for an estimate and same-day replacements. Call 314-500-LEAK and tell them Bo sent you to Beast Plumbing.
How does Kamala's candidacy change the Democrats' chances of winning in 2024? It's what's on everybody's mind. That's today's Annie Fry YouTube live chat poll. Your options are makes it better, makes it worse. Very simple. Let us know. I understand. I haven't looked at the results yet. We'll find out soon. I understand it's pretty close, though, so get your vote in right now. 2:43. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
JerryKelly.com.
This is the Annie Fry Show. Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Fry Show.
Heading back to the Headbangers is what we're doing here. Brad Young on the last segment here of the Annie Fry Show today. Back when I had hair, this would have been a fun song to jam out to.
Now we hate it.
Now we hate it because, well, at least me, I got no hair. But which somebody pointed out in the chat line that isn't it ironic? A bald guy worked in a barbershop. And listen, that irony is not lost on me, by the way. I've thought of that many, many times. But one of the topics I wanted to close out with here on the Annie Fry Show today is, you remember, this has been decades in the making, but at some point in corporate America pretty much reflected conservative values. And then at some point, corporate America moved to embrace the left. Because, when I was a kid growing up, it was always that the Republicans were the money people and the Democrats were the little people. And that's how it worked. But at some point, there was a flip. And I think that flip occurred as our universities became socialist factories, and people who were being kicked out of Harvard Law, of Yale Law, of MBA programs across this country started embracing progressivism, embracing Marxism. And then when those people went out and got jobs, they tailored the social presence of the corporations to progressive ideals. And so we were being just pounded with social activism from corporate America. But, there's something I've noticed, that in the last couple of years, we're seeing a move away from corporate America on this. Let me throw out these examples, and then let's talk about it. These are just 5 examples that I came up with here in the last few weeks. Bud Light continues to lose more ground. They're now number 3 beer in America because of Dylan Mulvaney. We also have John Deere there's backing away from diversity and inclusion efforts after a conservative backlash, which, by the way, John Deere, who are their customers?
Know
They're
your
farmers.
audience, John
Know
Deere.
your audience.
Well, it sounds like they have. They figured it out.
Now they figured it out. You also have a company called Tractor Supply.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Okay.
What?
Tractor Supply, they used to warn that climate change and lack of diversity would hurt their business, but now they're completely abandoning those things because embracing these radical progressive ideas hurt their bottom line. Target now is dialing back on Pride merchandise. And it was just this week, Microsoft announced, Microsoft of all companies, that they're laying off their entire DEI team because it was hurting business operations.
Wow.
So what do you think about this in terms of the shift that we had corporate America previously embracing more or less conservative ideals, maybe not strongly, but somewhat. Then it shifted to this embrace of progressive ideas, and now we see corporate America shifting back from that. What do you think of that trend?
Well, it's a big deal. That's a big, big deal. And it started with Bud Light. It really did. And at the time, I remember reporting on this, and we would ask the question, like we do in the polls, is this having an impact? I think the answer was almost always yes. We're seeing the reverberation from that still happening now. But I don't think it's just that. I don't think corporations just said, ooh, look what happened to them. We don't want that to happen to us. I think there's been a shift. Culturally, you can feel that there is a major pushback on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, because people have realized that those words sound good. The implementation of the policies hurts everybody because it takes everything away from merit-based hiring. It takes, and here's what's terrible. It actually hurts the people that it claims to help the most.
Yes, just like what we talked about with the minimum wage when I was interviewing Jonathan Hoenig about how by instituting a mandatory minimum wage ostensibly designed to help people, you're really hurting the very people that you're trying to help.
Yeah, but it for a long time it didn't matter because it made power brokers feel good. And we're at a point now where I think that cultural shift has happened. And I mean, I didn't know about the Microsoft news. That's huge.
Yes, it is.
I
huge.
had heard about some of those others, including John Deere, but the Microsoft one is big because that is not a tractor supply company.
No, it's not.
that is a company that has probably been one of the leaders. I mean, I'm assuming that they're Silicon Valley, or at least they're adjacent to being in that world. Well, if that world starts to turn, and this is the most liberal part of the country in California.
Well, Microsoft isn't in California. They're in
Oregon
or Washington, Pacific Northwest.
Which is, thank you for that. Because last week, though, we were reporting on, and this was with Ryan Recker filling in, we were reporting on all the Silicon Valley companies that are doing the same thing. Now, they might not be eliminating the programs entirely, but they're definitely dialing them back, and they're seeing that there's been a shift. I'm not going to give Ron DeSantis all of the credit for that, but he deserves some of the credit for making that a big, big issue. And he took a lot of heat for that.
Yes.
And everybody has kind of decided, yeah, but you're making good points. Even if I disagree with the way you did it, which I don't, but even if I do, you're actually making decent points. When you find that people are in positions that they shouldn't be in over and over just because of outward characteristics, that is the opposite of the civil rights movement.
You're right. It is, because the civil rights movement is supposed to give people equal access. And here's what the left doesn't understand, specifically what the left does not understand. They would look at the conversation we're having now. They would look at this reduced emphasis on DEI, and the left would say, you're taking that position because you're discriminatory and you don't want minorities and you don't want women to succeed in the workplace. Nothing could be further from the truth. I want minorities to succeed. I want women to succeed, but I want them to succeed based upon merit, not based upon quotas. Because if people get positions because of quotas, then they have no incentive to work the same way that someone who is promoted based upon merit has to do. Thomas Sowell, one of the greatest economists ever lived. I've read multiple of his books. He said this. I heard him say one time that I'm concerned that when people see me, that they think I am a great economist only because of the color of my skin, and I've been put into a position because of the color of my skin, not based upon the merit of my work. And that, to me, defines the problem with DEI, and the left simply cannot grasp that simple reality that we've just been discussing.
It's sad because you take away people's integrity simply by forcing these policies into place. Because like you said, now you're forcing, it's not just the right. I mean, everybody asks these questions now. You go, well, did you get the job because of your qualifications, or did you get the job because you checked some boxes? It's not just a right-wing thing. Right. This is a social thing that has happened. And it's unfortunate because maybe that person actually does deserve that job, and they should be lauded for getting, a big, big job, especially, there's a lot of DEI in Hollywood.
Right, but let's look at this as an example, Ryan, just to bolster what you're saying. I was outraged when President Biden stood up and said, the next appointment to the Supreme Court is going to be a black female. All right? Automatically, by doing that, I don't know Ketanji Brown Jackson. All I know is that she's not a biologist. But however, she may be a fantastic legal scholar. She hasn't been there on the court long enough for me to know that. But she will forever, in my mind, be a quota appointment because Biden wasn't looking for the best person for the job. He was looking for the best black woman for the job. And I don't know, she might have been the best person, but because of Biden's qualifications, we're never going to know that.
And here's a question. I really am asking the left this question. How do you think that makes her feel? She is a Supreme Court justice. She will be for the rest of her life as long as she wants to be. She should be at the peak of her career. She should walk in any room. She probably still does. And people think, wow, she has accomplished something. But now there's this nagging question. Was she the best? Was she the best?
Was she?
And she's got to deal with that for the rest of her life.
Yes.
Now, because of bad policy, and it's to make people feel better. People in positions of power feel better when they can make these things happen because they go, oh, look how great I am. It eases my conscience. But then you just did this to this woman for the rest of her life that she has to answer that question, even if not publicly, but privately. People might ask that no matter where she's at, and she never really knows, but she's got to answer for it.
Well, I've given this example before on a previous time I've hosted and sat in for Annie, and it's this. The American Bar Association wants to impose a rule on law schools that says that the professors at the law school has to match the diversity of the community. When I was in law school, St. Louis University, approximately 1/3 of my law professors were Jewish. Last time I checked the stats, about 2% of Americans are Jewish. So does that mean now that if you adopt that American Bar Association platform, that the dean of the law school is going to have to go to a Jewish law professor and say, you know what, I'm very sorry. You're a great law professor, but we have to fire you because you're Jewish. And those are the consequences of this belief system that is flawed at its core by picking people by their characteristics of their skin or their gender or other issues other than merit.
Yeah, what started with equal opportunity, and you'll still hear it announced, oh, we're an equal opportunity employer. That's good.
That's fantastic.
That's what you want. You want to have
Yes.
equal opportunity for everybody. But of course, it didn't stop there because it never does. Once you get some power, these people, oh, you got some power, they push it up further, and it becomes equal outcome. And then you get them replacing words like diversity with equity or equality with equity.
Correct.
And you go, well, okay, you're just flipping the script a little bit because you're trying to do something else now that's beyond what we all kind of agreed was a good thing. Now you're doing something else, and we don't agree on that.
Right. And so I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that now corporate America is reassessing this embracing of progressive ideas, because here's what they don't understand. Remember, during World War II, the Christians were very slow to embrace the protection of the Jews in Nazi Germany. And it wasn't until the Christians themselves started being jailed by the Nazi regime did they regret not standing up for the Jews. In today's corporate America, if they embrace progressive ideas, then that means socialism will be taking them away.
The results of the poll, how does Kamala's candidacy change the Democrats' chances of winning in 2024?
With 260 votes, 55% of you said that she makes it better.
So, okay, our audience, at least by a narrow majority, believes that their
And
chances
we
are
didn't say
better now.
how much better or how much worse.
So let it be written. So let it be done.
It is done.
Brad Young sitting in today on the Annie Fry Show. We've got more great stuff coming up here on 97.1 FM Talk. Mark Reardon Show coming up next. Thanks so much for sticking around with us today. I will talk to you soon.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-353-9057. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-353-9057. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-353-9057. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-353-9057. 800-353-9057 or biglou.com.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the Protecting Your Retirement Educational event, Tuesday, August 6th. It's at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30 p.m. Seats are limited, so go online at retirementkey.com